New show loading. Freedom.exe online. Hey, deaf not left. Press start for the truth. Dum, dum, dum. Dum, 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 dum. Welcome to the circus. Deaf not left at your service. Jeff with a mustache laughs so loud, cracks one open, chills the crowd. Silvercan sweating on the desk right there, chords in his grip like he just don't care. Truth on tap in a goofy glass. Punchline hits, then he tapped that ass. He's burning takes like a Kubrick roast. Bookmark facts, then he dunked your post. Glitch in the screen, then he frees that frame. Fact check meme while he reads your name. Talk so fast you can't all tab out. Tab so stacked that they lag your house. Honest to a fault and he flaunts that flaw. Hits play, then he drops that law. They say don't joke, I say why not. You fear my thoughts, I fear your bots. You got think pieces, I got receipts. You got group chats, I got these beats. I'm that core sipping, mustache villain. Spreadsheet, samurai, parasite killing. You bring feelings to a stats collision. I bring footnotes to your fact fiction. They like tone it down, I'm like turn it up. They sip foam lots as I crack one cup. You quote buzzwords, I quote the page. You quote hashtags, I say that's gay. This is deaf, not left. Say it with your chest, mustache, course can. Freedom on the desk. We don't bend, don't beg. We don't ask, we press. If you came for the script, wrong show, get wrecked. This is deaf, not left. Tell your friends, confess. Truth gets loud when they try to suppress. We don't bend, don't beg. We don't ask, we press. America first. Every cast, every breath. I got what you want. I got what you need. I got so many red pills stacked that you say cracker, please. I got stats in the stash, got the clips with the scenes, got the emails, he trails, all the stuff off the screen. I got truth on the tap, got the punch and the tease. I got questions for the kings that'll make them all wheeze. I got love for the flag and the folks who believe that your voice ain't a crime just for cutting through the feed. No script, just spit and a spy made of steel. He reads one chart, says, how's that feel? Fact check Jeff, that's a full-time gig, cause the fact's too big for the old cheap rig. Fact check folder, beat up binder, Jeff side smiles. Let me remind you. Honesty, that's house law. Punchline swing like southpaw. Calls out bots in the live chat. Reads one loud like who typed that? Studio's just one room, but the convo feels like one-sided combat. He says free speech first, feelings maybe third. If your Harvard blog gets hurt, that's the funniest thing I heard. America first on a thrift store sign. Next to the clock he quotes every time. You got questions? Hold that seed. Then he leans in close on the beat. I got what you want. I got what you need. I got so many red pills on deck that you say cracker, please. Oh! I got what you want. Only mute when I sneeze. Freedom so cold, make the fact checks freeze. Take a sip, take a seat, let the brain cells breathe. This is deaf, not left. Say it with your chest. Truth, honesty, freedom. Yeah, we stress that. Stress that. America first. We ain't pressed by threats. If you're scared of some words, change the station, then nerve. This is deaf, not left. Wrong crowd, then exit. We don't beg for permission or soft filter the message. Deaf, not left. Put the spin to bed. If facts make you cry, that's a you thing, friend. Yeah, I'm the mustache with a stash of receipts. Laugh track loaded on the threat when I speak. Fact check, snap back, crack jokes on elites. Nerd brain, wordplay, drop stats in the street. I got what you want, I got what you need. I got so many red bills stacked, you say cracker, please. I got links, I got stats, I got timestamps saved. I got clips, I got quips, I got memes for days. I got jokes so sharp that they'll make you bleed. I got laughs so loud with your NPCs. I got wait, run that back. I got bro, that's facts. I got how we get canceled off basic math. I got let me show you how this fucking fed slop swag. This is deaf, not left. Say it with your chest, mustache, course can. Freedom on the desk. We don't bend, don't beg. We don't ask, we press. If you came for the script, wrong show, get wrecked. This is deaf, not left. Tell your friends, confess. Truth gets loud when they try to suppress. We don't bend, don't beg. We don't ask, we press. America first. Every cast, every breath. This is deaf, not left. Say it with your chest. Truth, honesty, freedom. Yeah, we stress that, stress that. America first. We ain't pressed by threats. If you're scared of some words, change the station and nerd. This is deaf, not left. Wrong crowd, then exit. We don't beg for permission or soft filter the message. Deaf, not left. Put the spin to bed. If facts make you cry, that's a you thing, friend. Hit play, hit sub, hit send. Same time next week, my friend. Yeah, right. If the feed goes dark, don't fret. We'll be back. Deaf, not left. Deaf, not left.
It's been less than 4 days since David Wilcock left this plane of existence. Less than 2 days since I was shocked by the news, and less than 24 hours, friends, since we last spoke. It seems like it's been no time at all, Yet in that fleeting time frame, a fire was quietly lit. And since we've last spoken, friends, it has become clear to me that it is beginning to spread and grow louder. I keep hearing, people are waking up, man. And I pray to God this is true, that it's not just a flash in the pan, soon to fizzle out as people become bored and distracted and eventually lose interest because life happens after all. I pray that is indeed happening in a permanent, evolutionary way. So this isn't all memory hold in 2 years. I hear it all the time from different kinds of people, many of them unexpected, but I never heard people saying that, at least not nearly as much, before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Now, David Wilcock, who, if you listen to him talk for any length of time, you'd see clearly he's one of the most positive, good-natured, frighteningly intelligent, and incredibly compassionate people you're ever likely to meet. And we're now told that he's taken his own life with a gun. David was excited about life. I mean, I've followed him for 18 years, since I was about 20 years old, since very, very close to the beginning of his career, his public career. And one thing you can say is that he was excited about life. I was going to add life affirming to the list, but that would be a tragic understatement. He made it his life's mission to uplift not just others, but the entire human species as a whole. Who do you know that has goals like that and actually thinks that they can achieve them? When I was first exposed to his work, it changed my entire worldview in one day. He gave me the gift of opening my eyes to the very real idea that there is, I wrote all this down, to the very real idea that there is so much more to reality than what's obvious from a surface level perspective if you only look. Also, I can prove it. And we've been going about this wrong the whole time. That's what he opened my eyes to, those things. He gave me the gift of endless fascination and curiosity and gratitude for the world around me, and the realization that the holographic and fractal nature of reality means that there are little mysteries and miracles and expressions of God everywhere. Again, if you only look. And the personal conclusion that through this curiosity and fascination, and by scratching that itch of curiosity and thereby coming to know, appreciate, and admire the beauty and elegance of God's creation, you can become closer to and strengthen your connection with the Creator, God. I think David felt that way too. His website is divinecosmos.com. I think he had a book by that title as well. So forgive me for having some questions when you tell me that this walking ball of love and light woke up one day and shot himself. And because of the endless curiosity that you, David, stoked in me 2 decades ago, I will not stop looking for the answers to those questions that I have until they're answered. People sure are waking up. They sure are. Charlie's death started it. Yours affirms it. And if what I think is happening is actually happening, you will have achieved your goal in death. My prayer for the world is that same curiosity that you gave me, because the world is infected by parasites, and sunlight, of course, is the best disinfectant. On behalf of humanity, I thank you, David, and personally, I say, so long, and thanks for all the slides. The time is now 10:23 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's April 23rd. It's Thursday, my dudes. I'm Jeff Not Left. Thank you for joining me on Def Not Left. This is the second part and conclusion to our celebration of the recent David Wilcock. The previous episode, if you watched it, it said remembering David Wilcock. We remembered him. Now we should celebrate him. That was more than nature of David's personality. Anyway, he was a jovial man. Like I said, love and light, man. And I don't want to babble too long. That was a very long opening. I wanted to get started much earlier than this, but I got, and I decided I would wear my Aldi's best today, since I'm doing something like this. Aldi merch. This is my Aldi drip, y'all. I have so much Aldi clothes. It's not even funny because I consider it the poor people's Gucci. Anywho, we're going to get right into it because I want this to kind of flow easily into, if you watch the previous episode and then start watching this one right away, I want it to like kind of flow pretty smoothly. So we're going to get right into it. We left off yesterday. The last thing that we were talking about was the pineal gland. We went into that in extensive detail. We talked about how it has rods and cones on the inside of it, as well as water and little silica particles. It's on the inside of your brain. It's referred to as the third eye. It's at the geometric center of your skull, and it has rods and cones in it, and water and silica. Why would it have rods and cones? Like your eyeball. That's what your eyeball uses, to receive light and then send it to your brain. Why would that be on a gland on the inside of your brain? That gland also produces DMT. We talked about, it's hard to, if you just rattle it off, you sound like, okay, what the fuck does all that mean? Well, I'm not going to go too far into it. It's a pointless endeavor, and I want this to flow. So let's get right back into David Wilcock. And just to reiterate, this is a low-quality video. This is from 2008 YouTube. It's in 240p, okay? This is the test. What comes after the test, we'll find out later. This video is in 240p. If that's too much for you guys, then I don't know what to tell you. That's the best quality of this video that you're ever going to find. But I'm introducing you because I think he deserves to be, for his message and his voice to be spread as far and wide as possible, because he can't do it himself now. And so I'm introducing any audience that I have to David Wilcock the same way that I was introduced. And I hope, a lot of this stuff that he talks about is stuff that a lot of people talk about now, but nobody talked about it then. So it was a lot more profound to me than it might be to you. That's possible. Or maybe, it blows your mind just as crazily as it did to me when I was 20. But I do wish to you the same profound twist on your perspective and elevation of your way of thinking, your consciousness, and your awareness. So yesterday, I kind of right at the beginning skipped past his little bit on crop circles, and I did that for a reason, because I think that it goes better right here in the presentation. So that's what I'm going to open with. I backed it up back to the beginning, back to the crop circles part, and we're just going to go ahead and start there and then pick up where we left off. Thank you, David Wilcock. Let's hear it.
Has arranged itself into this odd geometric pattern. And that's been proven. So then the question is, okay, what is the force that would cause that type of geometry to emerge in the formation of the universe? As we're going into the 2012 subject, of course, crop circles have been on everybody's mind. This was the formation that came down.
There was a guy in here, and I wasn't watching closely, but I did notice that he left after I mentioned the 240p. Sorry, bud. You want to be enlightened? You want your life to change? You want to be enriched intellectually, spiritually? Do you want to know what this guy was all about? This guy changed the fucking world, man. This was like the hippies' Charlie Kirk. I'm not kidding. In many regards. And he was Christian. You might not agree with his brand of Christianity, but he was sincere, I think. He was sincere in his attempt to have a bond and relationship and become closer to God.
A couple years ago, which started out in an unfinished way. You notice that all of these blocks are completely solid, and this area is solid as well. Well, the circle makers, whoever they are, came back. And when they came back, this is what we got. Now you have time markings and symbols from the Mayan calendar, okay? And the alignment of these winged discs in terms of what markers they're pointing to, which corresponds to the Mayan system and the Aztec system, gave you an exact time reference of the length of time between when this was created and 2012, the end of the Mayan calendar. So this is a self-referential 2012 diagram given to us by whoever is behind the circle phenomenon.
So that part's not super important. That's just him bolstering the idea that something big is coming in 2012, which, depending on how you look at it, maybe it did, maybe it didn't. That's up to you. I mean, there are things that happened, things with CERN and such, that connect to some people's theories of the Mandela effect and things like that. But that's up to you whether you subscribe to that or not.
This is one of many crop circles which seems to suggest that the secret to understanding 2012 and this mystery that we're dealing with right here in our talk today is in vibration. That looks an awful lot like a vibrating puddle of liquid. This is what happens when you take vibration to the next step. You get sacred geometry, and I'm going to show you more about that in a second. If you can imagine, this is a sphere and a cube and then another sphere.
Now, remember that. Just put a little pin in that in your brain, the sphere and the cube, because that comes up pretty quickly when we jump forward in the video.
This is the Froxfield chromosome formation. Obviously, the circle makers are saying, 2012, pay attention to your DNA, right? Except here's the thing. The chromosome's all broken up. And that's what happens before there's about to be a cell metamorphosis. Now, this is even more interesting. Check this out. What does that look like to you? A double helix. Okay, and there's 12 stations. Then down here, you get an even weirder thing. You get a triple helix, but they still have that same formation, and then boom, what's this? And look at the timelines. This is less than a month apart in 1999, and this came out in 96. So it appears that there is a message being given about the basic nature of DNA changing somehow.
Now, remember yesterday when we were talking about the experiments with the Russian scientist who did experiments with lasers? He shone lasers through a disease culture into a healthy culture, and he shone it through a sheet of quartz glass. Quartz is made of silica, just like the little particles inside your pineal gland. And it was only when they shone it through quartz that it transferred the DNA of the virus into the healthy culture. There was another one that he didn't talk about, but I did. And it might come up in the future in some David Wilcock content that we cover. But there was one thing I watched with him. I got to give him credit. This is where I obtained this information. It was another Russian scientist, maybe the same one, who, long story short, did the same thing. It was amphibian eggs. It was like a salamander and a frog or something. I could be off on the exact species, but basically he just shone the laser through the eggs, and what was frog eggs became salamanders when the eggs hatched, proving, if this is a real study that really happened. I mean, I've seen the paper, but it's in Russian, so if it is actual, if it is true, then that would prove that DNA can be transferred by light, which is a frequency. Light and sound are, you can consider them the same thing because they both are frequencies. Light is just condensed sound, is one way of looking at it. I don't think there's a lot of physicists who would disagree with that.
This is another crop formation which shows you DNA very, very clearly. As you can see that it's twisting, and you can see the ladder and the helixes. So there's something very interesting going on here. Now, this is one of the most staggering formations that's ever come down. And as I said yesterday, the idea that two drunken Englishmen stomped it down with a funny hat and a string and board after coming back from the bar one night, it just doesn't fly. This is much too complex to be something that could have been done without an elaborate. And the thing is, I mean, there have been some cases where formations like this have been documented as showing up within a 1-hour period. Like somebody's out there at night, they see nothing, and then there's lights and the dogs start barking and everything goes nuts, and then all of a sudden.
And, if you're thinking to yourself, oh, okay, we're doing crop circles, this is a serious conversation that we're having, and you're talking about crop circles. Of course, we've all seen the thing where it's the two guys, and they got the hat with the ring in it, and they go, right, mate, we're the ones been doing them crop circles, right? We just got, he got Australian almost immediately, but they use the ring hanging from the bill of their hat as a guide to make a straight line. They put a post in the ground and use a string to make a perfect circle, But there are two very notable differences in the two kinds of crop circles, the man-made and the unexplained. I'm just going to say unexplained. The man-made ones, it's obviously just damage. When you look at where it's bent, it's obviously just damage from a guy bending it over with a board and stepping on it. But there's another class, and it's usually the more elaborate ones that show this trait. And this is very easy, very, very easy to look up video and photographic footage. There's hours and hours of documentaries about it. But this second class, where they're bent over, there's these nodes, and it's like blown out. And the way botanists describe it is it's as if like that area had gotten concentrated microwave radiation on it, and it kind of just blew out the whole thing and deformed. It's like deformed. And nobody can explain. Nobody has a good explanation for how that could possibly happen. So when you're saying crop circles, okay, this is not a serious conversation. It is a serious conversation. And what I wanted to point out here at this part here is what I think David might have missed here is that this slide of this crop circle could have gone in his pineal gland presentation, because to me, what I'm looking at there is a Fibonacci sequence of a pine cone as viewed from above.
Sudden boom, there it is. So this is showing you the geometry of the tetrahedron, which there's lights and the dogs start barking and like somebody's out there at night, they see nothing. Documented as showing up within.
Right? Look at the bottom of a pine cone. It looks exactly like that.
A 1 hour period. Like somebody's out there at night, they see nothing, and then there's lights and the dogs start barking and everything goes nuts, and then all of a sudden, boom, there it is. So this is showing you the geometry of the tetrahedron, which here's a drawing of it. This is the frozen vibration that is one of the...
Okay, and that is where we came in. That's basically where we started yesterday. So we're going to jump ahead to where we left off, which was right about... Yeah. Yep, remember that? Now, since we've gone over it already, I have been going on and on and on and gushing about, oh, how much this man has affected my worldview and how so much of my worldview comes from stuff that I learned through David Wilcock. And I was thinking about it, and as we were going through the video yesterday, there were parts that were coming up, little points that were coming up, and light bulb going off. Hey, I talked about that on the show. I don't remember exactly when, but I brought that up on the show one time. I brought that up on the show one time. Strangely enough, I started a podcast called Def Not Left to dunk on the left. I've done barely any left dunking at all. Excuse me, the way things have worked out. But I have brought my David Wilcock worldview. I probably have talked about stuff David Wilcock taught me more than I've dunked on the left in my show, Def Not Left. Which maybe that name was a mistake, but I don't think I'm ever going to identify as a leftist. I know that we're post-politics now. We're post-two-party system. I'm not loyal to any party. I don't identify with any of them right now. But I know that there's a 0% chance of me ever identifying as a leftist. Yeesh, yikes. So I don't 100% regret the name. But let's go back in time. Is it this one? Hold on. No. It is this one. Let us go back in time to a month ago, probably a little bit over a month ago, season 2, episode 28.
Nakedness of his father.
Okay. And remember we were talking about cymatics? Remember that? He was showing... Actually, you know what? I should just go to the video and show you. What are we doing here? What are we even doing? Because it's right up in... It'll be easy to find. Easy enough. All right? Yeah.
On Neptune, this extends through... are then vibrated on particles of the secret. This is just a puddle of water that's got ordinary particles of sand in it called colloids. And those colloids are then vibrated on perfect sound frequencies like the white keys on the piano. And what you get is this interesting geometric shape inside, which should look pretty familiar to us by now. So this is the same pile of sand in the same water, just with different sound frequencies. And this is a very important point we're going to get into soon. The fact is that you can crank up the sound to a different frequency, and you get the same stable geometry. It stays there, it doesn't move, And when you crank it back down, it goes back to the other shape. So these shapes remain consistent for the given volume of water.
Okay, so you guys remember that from yesterday. Let's travel back in time, ladies and gentlemen. Let us travel to a month ago when we were doing episode 28 of season 2, We Dem Goys part 3, the key to understanding it all. When I was talking about sacred geometry, mysticism, and so forth, let me find that. Yeah, I should be right about there on the time. Yeah, so here we go. Back in time. It's like freezing. Am I creating a what do you call that? Am I creating a paradox loop here by watching Rumble while I'm streaming Rumble? It usually works. What the fuck's going on here? The heck, Rumble? This is retarded. Unbelievable. What is happening here? Of course something has to happen. It's not, you know. Let's see. What if we just lower the quality maybe? I don't know. Yeah, great. Okay. Let's just fucking play. This is insane. Can you guys believe this? This is an indictment of your system, Rumble. My internet is fine, okay? I am streaming at set. I have 0 drop. I got 60 drop frames. What is happening here? This hasn't happened in forever. I don't have my Wi-Fi. Do I have my Wi-Fi on? I did. But I am hardlined in, so that should override it. Wow. 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 I just want you guys to know that this does not represent me or the company. I hope I still have a job on Monday, and I know an apology isn't enough. But I do offer my deepest apologies and hope to find help.
Why are you gay?
I'm sorry. Okay, let's see if it works now that I turn the Wi-Fi off. No, sure doesn't. Is it because I'm on? Is it just because I'm on Brave? We're just gonna try it on this. We're gonna try it on Chrome or whatever. Fuck it, man. It already broke the flow anyway. No, not Rumble Studio. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Now we're cooking with gas, folks. Now we're cooking. Let's bring it over. Can I just get a full screen, my man? Thank you. Very good. This is awkwards. Let's fucking do it. Okay, 28. Do you work in Chrome? Not really. And it has no sound. Why is it so laggy? This is the worst thing. This is the worst. Is it just the amount of tabs that I have? This worked an hour before I started. This is absolutely bullshit, okay? Well, you guys get it. I brought it up. I guess we don't get the context. Fuck it. I don't even know if I just had it on the screen. There it is. Fuck it. Doesn't work. How terrible. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that this is part of the episode, David. All right, let's move on. Maybe that's what I get for talking about myself and not David Wilcock. Fuck me, Jeff. Lesson learned. Thank you, universe. All right, back to David Wilcock.
Water that you have and the shape of that water.
That works fine. All right. We'll just pick up where we left off yesterday. I'm going to shut my mouth for a minute and bask in the embarrassment of the moment. Excuse me.
Black Ops stuff, and I only was able to put the whole thing together from 7 different witness testimonies that all correlated independently of each other. That's how I found out that it's from the pineal gland. I'm not sure that they would want anybody to know this, So I am taking a risk at revealing this, but that's why I did publicly first. Because this is what's happening. This is why this matters, okay?
So this is where this is going to tie into the, Weed M. Goy's Baal worship stuff that I've been talking about. By the way, that series is not over. It is just postponed as we do the Worms in Our Butts series and stuff, because that's all going to converge at some point. But this is where it gets into stuff that Candace talked about on her show, and people called her a wacko for it. But this is where he talks about Project Looking Glass. And by the way, the pineal stuff we just heard, I know you've heard about the pineal gland. Everybody's heard about the pineal gland. If you have any sort of social media that has video on it, and you've ever been curious about anything, that's guaranteed to have come across your feed. This is the guy who brought it into public consciousness in this very talk right here. This is where it came into public awareness. Nobody knew what that word was before this man.
Could we reverse engineer the pineal gland? We have a basic system here. We have water that flips inside out. This allows you to see over into this other realm that we already know exists, because we can prove in quantum physics that a particle turns into a wave, and the wave is spaced out in time. Or has it already been done? Has it already been done? In fact, we have to ask ourselves, what are the needs? We need a barrel-shaped or pine cone-shaped container holding...
And just a quick reminder, this is 2008. So when he's talking about 2012 and stuff, that's in the future.
...water, and it would have to be a special water. Then you have to have an electromagnetic shielding capability. Like I was saying, you got to have this system that can do all this kind of stuff inside in order to shield it off from space-time. You have to be able to fine-tune the fields, because as it turns out, how these little vibrations run has everything to do with where it goes. It's like Google Earth. Everybody here use Google Earth? You ever seen it? You can click on something and you zoom in on it.
This was brand new.
Well, that's what the fine-tuning of these fields does for you. It actually is like coordinates, latitude, longitude, and time. Then you need some kind of method to pick up the visual images. Now, normally in the pineal gland, you do it with the retinal tissue, but you don't have a retina when you're dealing with a machine, so what do? Well, what does a television use? It uses a cathode ray, right? It's a little thing that shoots onto this surface, and the electrons strike the surface, and they glow.
Just so you're aware, what he is describing to you is the alleged machine, the Project Looking Glass machine that was built by the government and allowed them to visually view into the future or the past. That's what he's describing to you, how to build it.
Well, an ionized gas is going to glow if you strike it with this energy. So why not squirt an ionized gas in the middle, and then that might pick up the visual images? Well, this is what it looks like. This is real. This is, yesterday and today is the very first public unveiling in a public presentation of Project Looking Glass. Well, this is...
So, the reason Candace Owens, I don't know if she knows this, but the reason Candace Owens knows about Project Looking Glass is because of this talk right here in 2008 at the Conscious Life Expo.
What it looks like. This is real. This is, yesterday and today is the very first public unveiling in a public presentation of Project Looking Glass. A human being is about this tall. This is built in underground bases. It is colossal in size. And what happens is when you fire this thing up, these rings start going in all different directions. It shields off the barrel of water inside, which is just like your pineal gland. The water inside flips over into time-space, which then captures argon gas, captures visual images, and this is what it looks like.
By the way, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert for the movies Contact with Jodie Foster and the children's movie The Last Mimsy. He's about to give spoilers for both of those movies, so you've been warned.
It becomes huge, glowing, all the way out to these posts, which are used as stabilizers for the energy field. Now, it doesn't start out with an image of the Earth. That's just there as a placeholder, although you could see the whole Earth like that if you wanted to. That's not usually what happens. Well, Contact, right? We have been given the technology right in front of our faces in the movies. They just don't tell you what it's for.
13 Ghosts.
In what?
13 Ghosts.
13 Ghosts? Well, thank you. I'll have to check that one out. Doesn't sound like a movie I'd want to see, but if it's for that...
It's horrible.
Oh, I can imagine. So Contact, just to recap from yesterday, blueprints come in from the Vegans from Vega. They figure out that it's only when you fold up these patterns into a cube, which forms what there in the center, the triangle with the eye in the middle, as it folds up, cube geometry. That's when you can decode the plans to build this, these rings, which becomes this machine. And there's your little helicopter. So there's another shot of it. They got...
It's Jodie Foster. It's a movie about when they built a machine to send Jodie Foster through space and time, but it looked like nothing happened. Remember that movie?
Computer animations of how it's going to work with the different rings moving. This actually looks like the fisheye lens distortion effect that happens around the looking glass when you power it on. There's a gantry crane up at the top, and the little guy is dropped down and goes inside. That's like your barrel inside the mechanism there.
So the only difference there, if you've never seen the movie Contact, it's from, I don't know, probably 1996, 98, something like that. NASA scientists receive transmissions from space somewhere, and they realize that these transmissions describe images. And they take the images and they can't decode them, and then Jodie Foster figures out that, you know, they're trying to do it in like square, 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 like like we would, like human beings would. But that's not how these are oriented. It's actually 3, and they just kind of got to morph it together to make the ends meet. And what they see when they do that are the blueprints for this machine here. And this machine is a spaceship. It's supposed to be a spaceship. It's supposed to bring human beings to the aliens who sent the transmission. So they build it, and they put Jodie Foster in this little capsule, and they fire her down in there, and what they see is her just falling through. But that's not what she experiences. She experiences traveling through a wormhole and making contact with an alien species and then returning to Earth, many light years away. But the observer just sees it falling through at normal speed. It's quite a weird movie. It's one of those movies where when you see it, you're like, wow, where did all of this come from? What an idea for a movie. Somebody just thought of that because they were bored and they wanted to make a fucking cool story. I don't know, man. That seems very specific.
And this is where all the action happens. This is where the Stargate opens, the wormhole into the higher realms. In this frame, we're seeing how the whole thing collapsed and fell apart. So, of course, you want to take a ride. The new the new formation of the one after the old one breaks. And here we're seeing the new one. Once again, you get a very clear view, and there's your little eye with the rays coming off it, just like the all-seeing eye on the dollar. Not surprising. Here she is. It's even larger than the real one, standing on this ladder, looking down inside. This is the chamber and the chair inside, which we'll see is very important. And here's your geometry. Look at that. Did anybody notice that when you were watching the movie? Because it goes by pretty fast. That's that same geometry that's in the background radiation of the whole universe with the sphere.
Okay. We saw that there. We saw a similar thing in the crop circles.
In the center. They fired up. Guess what happens? Big, bright luminosity, just like the real thing. The real thing that they're actually using and have been using since the 40s at least. And here's what it looked like from the control room. It gets brighter and brighter. Then she starts having the floor disappear. She gets dropped down inside. And then, of course, she goes through this wild wormhole ride, and there's an ascension experience at the end of the dream. Because it is like a big dream, because she's in the dream plane. Now,
Okay. If you came back and because you thought it'd be over right now, we're about to do spoilers for the last Mimsy. Okay? So if you've been holding out and just waiting for the right time to see the last Mimsy, you better get the fuck out of here. Spoilers. Here we go.
Mimsy, again, you got the same principle. The children find these little objects. She finds this toy rabbit, and he finds this little thing that...
By the way, why is it always a rabbit? When you have this weird interdimensional, time travel-y type mystical shit, why is it always a rabbit? It's a rabbit here, it's a rabbit in Alice in Wonderland, it's a rabbit in Donnie Darko, it's a rabbit in The Matrix, right? Follow the White Rabbit, which is just an allusion to Alice in Wonderland again. But why? Why is it always a rabbit? Honestly,
helps
why?
him speak to the spiders. It all comes out of this cube that they find. Well, guess what's going on here?
Hold on. What David misses here, because it's only 2008, and there's not a widespread awareness of the satanic and pedophilic nature of the people who run our planet. But what are you guys seeing right here? Right there in these triangles here. That looks like the FBI and internationally recognized pedophile symbol right there. The former logo of Comet Pizza, ironically enough.
Same thing. It creates, at the end of the movie, it has created a wormhole into the higher realms, which allows them to...
There we go. You see that? Sorry, but that just wasn't in his wheelhouse at the time. And you can't blame him for that. That just, wasn't something that people were talking about. Very much, at least. Alex Jones, maybe a little. But sure enough, there it is. I only see the one, too, by the way. It's the only one where the facet is facing the viewer. So, good job, Steven Spielberg or whoever. I still got a Steven Spielberg wormhole episode that's cooking. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's happening eventually.
Send DNA into the future. Now, this movie is like an infomercial for everything that my colleague Dr. Dan Burish has been saying he dealt with in Majestic 12, dealing with extraterrestrials from our own human future human lineage extraterrestrials, as he called them.
Now, from this point forward in his talk, there's going to be portions that I don't necessarily believe or agree with, and I'll point that out, I suppose, when that happens. And it's going to seem at times like he's going a little bit off the rails. But the reason that we're going through this entire video as an introduction to David Wilcock, it's not just to explain, oh, this is how I got my worldview, and this is a big part of it, but it's because this is not the only video that was part of this experience for me. And like I said, the purpose of me doing these episodes right now is to spread his message to as many ears as will listen, and to hopefully make a positive impact on whoever. If it's 2 people, great. If it's 1 person, great. But I believe anybody who is actually impacted by this sort of information and the way it's connected and the implications of all of that, I think anybody who's affected by it is not going to be affected negatively. It's certainly going to be a positive and profound experience. So that's why we're going through the rest of this. Even though some of it may be erroneous, it serves to set up what happens next.
That apparently in his system, they have gone to the future, they have survived, but they had a small gene pool as a result of the cataclysmic activity in 2012, and I'll get into why I don't believe this is what's going on. And then they needed our DNA, and they're trying to come back in time to get our DNA to fix their genetic problem. So this whole movie is just a big infomercial for all the stuff that Burish has been saying, right down the letter. And there was a lot of development on...
Isn't that a weird plot for a kid's movie? Just saying. Shit.
The script. It is actually a great movie. I do recommend it. Now, here's the thing. This is actually precisely what was found, except for the sphere, but the shape, and then even the little filigree on the outside, the little 1 centimeter raised filigree. This is what's called the cube. It was found in the Roswell crash. And this is what it looks like when the tides open. You ever see the movie Hellraiser? I don't know if you'd want to, but they have a little puzzle, a little box that they flip, and then it pops open, just like this. And what happens when it pops open? Where do you end up going? You go into this parallel reality that's
Disneyland. We have such wonders to show you.
It's like hell, right? So that's all based on real knowledge, because
By the way, guys, that was a book originally written by Clive Barker. Clive Barker, a total sidebar here, but since we're talking about people who are masters of what they do and the beauty of the universe, Clive Barker wrote a lot of horror books, but he wrote a lot of fantasy books too. And I've never seen somebody write, Jesus Christ, I got fucking heartburn. You know what? Good thing I brought some Tums, ladies and gentlemen. I'll mute when I do that, of course, but I've never seen anybody write as beautifully as Clive Barker is what I was trying to say. God damn, demons, can you leave me alone for one
Some of
episode?
the spiritual planes you can go to are pretty nasty places. So when it opens up, you get these brilliant, vibrant colors inside and this grid pattern. It's called the yellow disk because the little yellow disk forms right here when it starts. And then you get a full color image. Unlike the other one where it's argon gas and it's all yellowy. You get a perfect color image on the real thing.
Okay, and that's what he's talking about there is basically a version or a machine that does the same thing as the Project Looking Glass machine, but that one, according to this, was found in the UFO and recovered at Roswell in 1947.
And of course, there's a treaty that they have with the ETs that forbids them from giving you the writing that's on those panels. We can't do anything about that. Again, you're seeing the same redundant geometric metaphors here, the sphere with the geometry. So all of this stuff, all of this usage of the looking glass technology has created some very, very interesting things. They have used this, for example, to cheat on presidential elections. Think about it. If you actually did have a technology that could allow you to look into the future and you're running for office, what are you going to want to do? You're going to want to go look at the newspaper headlines and the television and figure out what swing states you lost. So then you're back in time and you can program your Diebold voting machine.
So this is, in my opinion, just some sprinkles on top. It's irrelevant to the core of the information set, but
To tip the vote just enough that it's exactly 50-50, which is what happened in 2000 with George W. versus Gore, and it's what happened again in 2004 with George W. versus John Kerry. Okay? The problem is that as a result of the fear that they have that in 2012 that you're going to get an Earth axis shift, which is caused by an inappropriate amount of energy moving through the looking glass devices. They have, as of December 2006, completely deactivated and deconstructed all looking glass technologies on the Earth. The Iraq War had, to a large degree, the mission of capturing a looking glass technology that was dug up in Sumer, which was originally in the possession of Gaddafi in Libya, which is why they attacked Libya. Gaddafi got rid of it and gave it to Saddam Hussein.
now remember that? I mean, if you are a regular viewer or a subscriber of this channel, you know that we follow Candace here. And I've done several episodes about this exact thing right here that was first brought up by Candace. She thinks that the Iraq War after 9/11, 2003, was done to recover the body of a mythical figure named Gilgamesh and his resurrection chamber. That may be so. That may be so. And I'm not discounting that. But what's to say there wasn't a multiple front mission here? I'll let him say it again.
Just enough that it's exactly 50-50, which is what happened in 2000 with versus John Kerry. The fear that they have that in 2012 that you're going to get an Earth axis devices, they have, as of December 2006, completely deactivated and deconstructed all looking glass technologies on the Earth. The Iraq War had, to a large degree, the mission of capturing a looking glass technology that was dug up in Sumer, which was originally in the possession of Gaddafi in Libya, which is why they attacked Libya. Gaddafi got rid of it and gave it to Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein was using this technology, viewing the future. The U.S. government went in after him because they felt that the fate of the world was at stake, because if they did not capture this technology and get it back and deconstruct it, that the Earth would have a pole shift.
See how young and naive David was in 2008, not aware that the same people control both sides in anything like that, and that the U.S. had any kind of noble intentions when going to war.
So this is what they say, and it's a great story. It'll make a great movie, which I'm sure is being written. expand. We're going to get into the pole shift and why I don't think that that's what's going on at all. I do not have a negative doom and gloom disaster view of our future. It's very important that you hear that, even though I know some of this stuff might be a little freaky looking. So the D of the CTP is what they call it in code parlance, because nobody's going to know what that means. But when you actually decipher these letters, it means
The DOCTP in the place to be.
the doctrine of the convergent timeline paradox. Here's the problem. You look through time with this device, and when you hit 2012, everything goes perfectly white.
Okay, and that's another thing. That's another thing that I've brought up in the show before. That one I brought up a while ago, and we're going to see if Rumble lets me play that one. And again, this is just to demonstrate the impact that this guy has had on my worldview. This is supposed to be a political show. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's conspiracies and mysticism and telling you about ancient Jews and stuff. But the point of me showing you this is to show just... I've been doing the show for like 6 months, and this is how many times he's just been brought up in a show called Deaf Not Left. Okay, that's crazy. Hey, it's letting me play it. Cool. It's an interview from 2012. So this Navy guy is talking about how they had a, and by they I mean like the government, deep intelligence there was something called Project Looking Glass. Project Looking Glass was some sort of machine wherein they could input certain scenarios. It would be like, it's present year. If we do A, what is going to happen? Aren't you guys glad I fixed my sound? I'm sorry about the sound. Happen. If we do B, what is going to happen? And basically, it's showing you with a certain level of probability what the outcome would be. It's more or less a simulation. I got to think it was some kind of supercomputer, maybe. I don't really know. He doesn't really give details. And in everything I've seen about Project Looking Glass, there's really no more details about the mechanism of it than that. So let's hear what he has to say. If you're old enough, if you're close to my age, you remember that before 2012, there was like a weird like Y2K kind of fear about it because the Mayan calendars end in 2012. Okay, yeah.
Several other
about it.
But
Yeah, Sailor has to say.
Updated before the big blast.
That's
big
a
thanks to
commercial.
Outskill for supporting the channel.
One of the caveats.
Did you guys notice that? It started on 3:33. You see that? That's where I had it paused. That was not on, obviously, that I don't think I was even aware of that at the time, but let's hear what this Navy sailor has to say.
Updated before the big blast.
That's
big
a
thanks to
commercial.
Outskill for supporting the channel.
One of the caveats that I do have some personal information that I did get personally involved in was some information that had to do with the Stargates and Looking Glass, and more specifically the 2012 problem with those projects. The, well, I guess, popular opinion of what's out there right now is that the project was shut down because there was a problem when we approached 2012.
This is a 2012 Project Camelot interview with Carrie Cassidy and Bill Wood, a former Navy member who said he had access to information far outside the public eye. At that time, people were already talking about 2012. But Bill claimed the real concern wasn't a prophecy or a calendar date. It was a classified program the public almost never heard about. It was called Project Looking Glass, a secret program built around a controlled setup where they tested how different decisions could change what comes next. It wasn't one machine, but an entire process. They would adjust certain...
Hold on. I forgot it had this blueprint thing in it. This could just be
conditions
AI slop,
introduced-
but hold on, because that kind of almost looked like what David just showed. Oh, that kind of almost looks like...
where they tested how different decisions
Dude, where did the bar go?
could change public. At that time, people were already talking about 2012.
Dude, why?
But Bill claimed the real concern wasn't a prophecy or a...
I'm retarded. I have to look at you guys in the eye while I do this. I was trying to move this bar right here on the video that's on the video and not the actual bar for the video. Let's keep going.
calendar date. It was a classified program the public almost never heard about. It was called Project Looking Glass, a secret program built around a controlled setup where they tested how different decisions could change what comes next. It wasn't one.
Is this AI slop, or is this someone's alleged blueprint? Because it looks like part of it. It looks like part of what David showed us.
Machine, but an entire process.
Hold on. Shit.
A secret program.
Come on.
Built around a controlled setup.
I almost did it
where
again.
they
I am
tested
so
how
dumb.
Different decisions could change what comes next. It would adjust certain conditions. The public.
Well, I guess we approach from a
All right, that's enough. All right, you guys get it. You guys get it. Let's get back to David Wilcock. David Wilcock, and quit putzing around here, shall we? Sorry about that, guys. That was unprofessional of me. As Baron Coleman says, it won't happen again. Back to David.
As you get closer and closer to 2012, starting in around 1980, a very strange thing has been happening when they use the looking glass. There is an interlacing of images. So right now, imagine that if I had this slide on half the time, and then the other half of the time, there was an image of like a face. And if I interlace them slowly, then maybe every second it goes from here to the face to here to the face. Then as it speeds up, it gets faster and faster to the point that if it were complex images, you couldn't make out one from the other because they're flip-flopping so fast. Okay? That's called interlacing, and the frequency of the interlacing gets higher and higher as you go towards 2012. So anytime that they try to look at, like, or they used to try to look because they're not using them anymore, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, bam. It's so interlaced that they have a whole server farm of computers just to deconstruct the two images and be able to see what they're looking at in the future. So again, this is what they're using. This is one of the main ones they're using, the Orion cube as they call it, or the cube. And also it's being used with looking glass. But what's going on with 2012? Well, here's another very interesting thing. Dan Burish, who I've had multiple discussions with privately, and we're actually going to have an event that we're speaking at together at Caltech, which is later in March. And I'm going to have that on my website if you're interested. It's going to be local. My website is divinecosmos.com. And we're going to talk about all this stuff there to some degree, but it's mostly going to be on his research with biology, which we'll get into later. But anyway, we have multiple parallel futures that we can choose. And what he found was there was a treaty that they were trying to do with the extraterrestrials that was codenamed Tau 9. And in the Tau 9 treaty, they had a line item in the treaty that was intended to share his biology technology with the ETs. And that technology was able to reproduce the original seed of all life on Earth.
Now, this is one of those parts that I was referring to earlier, where I'm not sure I'm biting on that, you know. Everything else, he's got science, he's got at least evidence. I was gonna say like evidentiary proof. That's not a thing that people say. He has evidence that what he's saying might be true. This is just like a claim that a guy made, and anytime it's just a claim that a guy made, it just kind of goes in the giant maybe pile, which is very big. So this is just, I'm just, you know, fair in the interest of fairness. This is one of those parts that whatever.
Which the ETs wanted to use to be able to heal their own DNA because they believe that they're human lineage. So what he found out was that these other beings apparently had contacted him and said, you cannot tamper with the tree of life. You can look at it, you can admire it, but you can't mess with it. The tree of life is the actual source code of our DNA. So what was happening was they were looking into the future, and he took the negative visual that he got from the alien, from the ascended being that came to him and warned him about the tree of life. He held that image in his mind of what would happen to the Earth in 2012 if this were allowed to happen. And the image inside the looking glass immediately shifted to the apocalyptic vision. So he was able to prove by doing this that you can determine the outcome of what this thing shows you by your conscious focus. So this is 2012 literally does represent create your own reality time. It has everything.
So, obviously, what he's proposing was going to happen in 2012 didn't happen, at least not in the way that he said it would, where reality would flip inside out to time-space, and time would be three-dimensional, space would be one-dimensional, and you'd be able to manifest reality at will, basically, because you'd be in the astral, what equates to like an astral plane, dreamland, like actually where your consciousness goes when you dream, place, dimension, whatever you want to call it. That didn't happen. But the thing that video that I was showing on season 2, episode 28, or whatever it was, no, that was episode 30 of season 1. But some Navy guy, and Navy guys always get the best intelligence, they always get the best tech, was describing Project Looking Glass, and he described a bottleneck where instead of everything going white, like David describes here, and these can be viewed as similar interpretations of the same thing, but what that guy describes is a bottleneck of possibilities, basically, where before 2012, and if you go the further back you go, the wider it gets, but the amount of possibilities were wider and wider and broader, but as you approach 2012, it gets narrower and narrower and narrower because there's one eventual conclusion, and no matter what happens all the way back here away from the bottleneck, or what happens here as you get closer, your options narrow as you reach this point. And what happens at that point is evolution. It is awakening. It is, as David says, create your own reality. He's not wrong, but the picture that he painted is incorrect. But I think we are in that paint your own reality time. It's unprecedented times. There's major news stories every 6 hours that used to happen every 2 or 3 years. Time itself, the consequences of time itself, seem to be quickening at an alarming rate. The flow of information, the exchange of information, and the accumulation of information, and the generation of information. That's a lot of Asians. That's a lot of Asians, buddy. But it's quickening. And mathematically, there is a point where that reaches its limit, basically, like the speed of light, And what happens then? We can only go to the next level, because this one, we've done everything there is to do at that point, or at least ascended as high as we can. So his interpretation that this is going to be a create your own reality, everything you think comes into existence time, yeah, it didn't happen the way he said. But I don't think that's a necessarily wrong way of saying it. You can say the same thing and mean something different. It is create your own reality time. Let's continue.
Thing to do with what do you expect is going to happen. This is where thoughts becoming reality really takes on a whole new meaning in a way that you've never heard of before. Now, again, I also had a contact with a man named Daniel. You can hear about the story on the free 3.5-hour Project Camelot video that's on my website. You can go look it up. I met this guy in New York. I was stranded at the airport because of
Daniel? I'm sorry, the curiosity. Is this fucker's name Daniel?
A former Navy member who said he had access to information.
Approach 2012.
This is a 2012 Project Camelot interview with Carrie Cassidy and Bill Wood.
Nope, it's not Dan. Okay, that's as much as we're doing there.
the snow. I
Shout out Denny's.
ended up going to a Denny's. It was the only place that was open. I had brought the Montauk book with me for some reason, even though I thought it was all just a bunch of crap.
It's another thing I know about because of David Wilcock that I have talked about extensively on the show.
And this dude walks by in like biker gear and a big burly beard. Big guy. So you like that stuff, huh? You like that Montauk? I said, oh my gosh, this is all a bunch of crap. He says, I used to work for Preston Nichols. What? Preston Nichols is one of the authors of the book. And I just started laughing. I said, look, there's no way that you worked at Montauk, because Montauk is a joke. It's fake. Well, he kept on talking, and the next thing you know, he sat down, and we stayed up all night, and I had like scribbles all over the placemats. And I mean, this guy, and it's a shame that he doesn't want to go public, because I'll tell you, he's got an amazing amount of information. And I didn't go into it very much yesterday. Some people asked me to go into it a little bit more, so I will do that. You have to understand that there is a basic New World Order, an Illuminati, if you will, which is primarily run by the Rothschild family. The Rothschild means red shield, which is all kinds of esoteric symbolism we could go into, which I don't have the time for. The Rothschilds financed Stalin and the takeover of Russia, the Bolshevik Revolution, 1917. They have financed the French Revolution. They financed World War II. They financed Hitler, and they were financing the U.S.
This is another thing that I've talked about on the show. The Rothschilds, you know what their family crest is? 6-pointed star. Some call it the Star of David, but it's the Star of Remphan.
So they believe in order out of chaos. You fund both sides of a war, and whichever side wins, you got their vote, because you're their paymaster. You've given them their money. You control their financial supply, which means you can control the government, okay? And you profit no matter what, right? And also what happens is that the war stimulates the economy, so you get much more infrastructure and much more buildings coming out of it. That's why, for example, Ford Motor Company was building tank plants in Germany, which is why Hitler's Wehrmacht had the tanks. It was from Ford. When American bombers bombed Ford's tank plants in Germany, Ford personally repaid Hitler so he could rebuild the tank plants faster. Boeing actually was shipping, this has been documented, was shipping passenger airliners to South America, which were then sent to Africa, where they ripped the seats out and turned them into Hitler's bomber fleet. That was Boeing. These are American corporations. The whole idea of these big wars is a joke. It's a setup. It's a game that's played to play off the opposites against each other in the hopes of synthesizing a new world order where we all kind of synthesize. That's why Democrat and Republican is a joke. Okay? They want certain aspects of the conservative Republican Party. They want, for example,
Now, this is 2008, but I think right now what we're looking at here is we're flirting with the sort of stuff that if David Wilcock did die by not his own hand, it's this line, this school of thought. And he goes deeply into that in many times in his career, saying stuff that he claims could get him killed. And maybe it did. Maybe it really did. You know, it is so hard for me to believe, having known and been aware and listened to so many hours of this man talking, to believe that that is how he met his end. It is very hard to believe.
Cultish religious aspect, but it's not Christianity. That's why the liberal side is all about being open and being free and not having any of these traditional shackles on you. Because what they ultimately want is a racist society. They're very racist, and they're interested in...
Shout out racism.
...a new world order, which is run by a Luciferian philosophy. Now, this is very disturbing sounding stuff, but they actually believe that since they have the secret tradition that goes back to Atlantis, and that they've been persecuted for thousands and thousands of years by various people, nobody persecuted...
What does that sound like to you? I'll give you a minute.
...them as badly as the Roman government through the Catholic Christian Church.
What does that sound like?
They were tortured, they were killed, so they came to the natural conclusion. You can understand anybody would have done this under the circumstances. What do you think they would choose? They would say, okay, whatever God these guys think is God, that's not the right one, because he's stringing us out on the rack, he's torturing us, he's killing us. Therefore, whoever the Christian church says is the bad guy is the good guy. Okay, wait a minute. Lucifer is the brightest light, the brightest angel in heaven, right? And he's the one that got tossed out of heaven. Well, maybe he got tossed out of heaven because he was too cool, right? Because everybody else in there was a bunch of corrupt shysters. Well, this is actually what the most powerful people in the world think. And they are a fundamentalist religion just like any of the others. They still believe this weird stuff. They follow these teachings. They actually buy into this, okay? So that's why it's weird, because you see these political parties that are siding with religious fundamentalist Christianity, and they actually do have a fundamentalist religion, but it's the mirror opposite. So their energy vibrates with each other, and that's why they work together so well.
Okay. So that's what we've literally, what he was just talking about right there is what I've gone over just a few episodes ago in the We Dem Goys series, whatever you want to call it, the Baal worship series. What he was just describing was the Kabbalistic, Zionist, pedophile elite and their belief system. It just so happens that a lot of those guys end up being pro-Israel Zionists. That seems to be their den, their home, their hub. And if we have time, after we finish the video here, I'm going to go into some things that raised my eyebrow a little bit since we've last met, friends. There's some things I've come across because I cannot help, like I said, I can't stress enough the impact this guy had on my life. So I have been looking with any spare time I've had throughout the day about what people are saying about this. I've been going into forums. I've been going into like the forums on a guy's, like on a David Icke website. You know, I've been trying to find anybody who is initiated, who is in the club here, who knows about this stuff for a long time and maybe even knows David Wilcock, typing in a forum somewhere. And I did find some stuff. If we have some time after the video, we're going to go over that. But this, I think, because in my mind, there's a 1%, there's always got to be some possibility. But in my mind, there's a 1% chance that David Wilcock just woke up one day, 2 days after the stream that we watched some segments of yesterday, that I'm sure, if you're interested in this, have seen in your feed somewhere, of him affirming life and positivity, actually referring to the scientists who have died recently, hoping that he stays alive, saying that every day that he wakes up alive is a gift. Does that sound like somebody who's going to kill himself? Just, no note or whatever. I don't think, they've told us whether there was a note or not. But I'm assuming since they haven't talked about it, there isn't one. You're telling me that's the guy who just woke up on a fucking Tuesday morning and shot himself, or Monday morning, rather? I don't buy it, man. I'm sorry. Most of me doesn't buy it. And there's no facts to support it. There's no facts to go against it. But my gut and my heart say that's not right. And evidence of that to me right now is the difference in live viewers between today and yesterday. Yesterday, there was kind of a flurry of activity during the live stream. I was getting some pretty consistent in and out of above average. Today, there's been like 1 or 2 people that have wandered in or out. I've been alone most of the time. I have the exact same tags. I have the exact same thumbnail and almost the exact same title. So what's different? I started at within an hour of the same time that I started yesterday. So what's different? Are Thursdays, does something happen on Thursday? Does Dan Bongino do a super stream? What's different? To me, that difference is, just an indicator that they might be trying to suppress, they might be deprioritizing videos about David Wilcock just in case.
Don't forget, of course, that Hitler was also running on a Christian platform. And who was Hitler's main ally in World War II in Europe? Italy. Italy is the Vatican. The Pope and all that stuff was supporting Nazi Germany, okay? Because it was in the Vatican, which was in Italy, which was Mussolini. So, The reason why I'm telling you all this is not for you to have a fatalistic sense of doom. It's to also enlighten you to the fact that this is going on, that it's real, and that the Nazis were very, very proactive in rebuilding all of the ancient secrets that had been lost. Because for the first time, they had a world power government
I don't know, it doesn't sound so bad.
that could go out and militarily by force invade places that were being kept under lock and key with heavy guard and go in and steal the artifacts and the technologies that would allow them to rebuild their so-called master race and all this stuff that they're so into. Okay? What's that?
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, exactly. So, what do you think happens when a UFO crashes in World War II and the people who financed Nazi Germany, once it collapsed, they're looking for as much technology, as much goodies as they can get their hands on. So what do you think they're going to do when these UFOs crash? They're going to want to rip out everything from those UFOs imaginable and reverse engineer it and make it into something they can use. So what's the first thing that they go for? They take out the chair. Because these UFOs, you're sitting there in the chair and you say you want to go somewhere, you meditate on it, and a vortex opens up in front of the ship and you fly through it and you pop through a wormhole and you end up somewhere else. Okay? So that's what the chair does. The chair is the interface with your consciousness. So
Where have you seen that before? X-Men. There's something else too. There's another movie, because I remember saying, "Hey, they copied that off of X-Men." There's another movie where was it a Stranger Things thing, where you can sit in a chair and it like amplifies your psychic ability.
So when you understand that your consciousness is interfacing through the chair, that helps you get to a point in yourself where you can see that the chair is a psychic amplifier. That's what it does. The chair's function is that it takes your natural innate psychic function and makes it vastly more powerful.
So when you see this thing, we're talking about it, and we just have talked about some things that are echoed in film. He talked about The Last Mimsy, the movie Contact with Jodie Foster, and what this is called, I mean, I assume you probably already know this, but that's called predictive programming. I think he does talk about it at some point in this talk here, but there's a set of rules. They do, as evil, pedophilic, satanic as they are, they do have a code that they adhere to. Part of that code, by the way, is in their mind, in their way of thinking, when they do that, when they put the truth into a piece of media or a piece of fiction that for public consumption, what they're doing is basically pitching the idea to the public. And if people don't revolt and say, hey, you better not do what they did in that movie, then in their mind, that's consent. And they're allowed to do it without any negative karma. That's the way they view the world. Doesn't matter if you do. That's the way they do. The people who run all the shit, all the people that make everything happen, that's what they think. So doesn't matter what you think. Honestly, if you want to understand it so that you can act accordingly, whatever that means to you, this is the material.
Oh, the Philadelphia experiment was the result of the testing of high-energy arc welding on the creation of very large battleships by the U.S. Navy in World War II surrounding Norfolk Naval Air Force Base, which I used to be right near in Virginia Beach. What they found was that when you got this high energy, this was the highest arc welding ever done, like a big bolt of lightning. And it pinched time-space into space-time. So you get this black hole in the room. And then actually they were having tools disappear. So the tools never came back, and they realized there's something here we can use, and they actually designed it into something that they put on the ship in the hopes that the ship would be able to be invisible, like the tools became invisible. What they didn't realize is that they were going to jump from one place to another, and it had a devastating effect on the crew. Anyway, I don't want to spend all of our time just going through this old material, so we're going to get back to the chair. We're going to get back to the point that they could actually create a wormhole with the chair, with the psychics exercising their consciousness in the chair, They had help from, apparently, ETs from Sirius in designing the chair. And the chair allowed them to send people through time. There were multiple wavelengths that the chair cranked out on graph.
See, I just want to note here that this is another part that I don't know why he's bringing it into this, to be honest with you. And it's not necessarily a part that I have seen any evidence of, and therefore it's just a floating ethereal maybe for me. I'm going to let him wrap up his point about this chair here, and then I really got to pee. I was going to hold it until, I was going to try and hold it until the video was over, but nobody's watching live, so it doesn't matter. You're watching the replay if you're watching it all, and if that's the case, you can just click forward, you know? So I'll let him wrap up, but then it's pee time.
Paper, okay? Some of those wavelengths were corresponding to a natural 20-year harmonic in the Earth's vibration. And that 20-year harmonic, as it turns out, if people were moving through time, which is one of the things they found they could do, is send people through time, this wave would tell you exactly where you were in time, depending on where up and down it was. So what they found that was so bizarre was that at December 21st, 2012, they could calculate it down to the day. That's how precise this was.
Okay. You know what? Before he gets into this part right here, and when I get back, I'm actually going to back it up like 15 seconds, because this right here, and this is what he's about to tell us, is it's fact. You know, he's going to tell us an astronomical fact, and whether or not you believe any of this other shit that is speculation or stories or accounts from other people, he said a lot of other stuff earlier in the talk, but this is one of those things that it's just a scientific fact, and there are implications that can be drawn from that depending on how you interpret the universe. And, you know, somebody's got to be right. Somebody's got to be, or at least closest to right. I think this is the right track right here. So, thank you for watching the replay, whoever is, in fact, watching this video. If you don't want to hear any of my beautiful, it is AI generated, but at painstaking effort. These things take days and literally several hundred iterations, edits, remasters, and remixes to get it to the way that I want it to be, to the point that I will release it to the public. If you don't want to hear that, though, feel free to click ahead. I made a playlist. It's called Def Jams, and it contains all of the music that I've made so far. I'll be gone for just a couple minutes. It's a perfect time to like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below on your thoughts, whether you agree or disagree with any of the shit I'm presenting here. And if you're brave enough, even share it with your friends. I know you won't, though. So, in the meantime, I'm going to go pee. Enjoy the music, folks. Which one are we going to do here? Let's do one that's like 4 minutes long, because my wife is home and I want to say hi. See you in a minute. Of course, somebody fucking comes in as I go to take a piss. I'll be back in 2 minutes, guy.
Johnny walked in, coat sharp, tie straight. We were scared and shaking, said our fate could not wait. After all that chaos, we were clinging to faith. Thought a straight arrow savior just walked into place. He shook Cash's hand, took that badge, took that chair. Deputy director staring down every stair. We said, finally, somebody gonna clean this mess. I should've listened to that voice saying, boy, not yet. Bon John, where you hiding now? while he scribbled below. All that weight on the table, he just let it go. Couldn't stand the heat, couldn't stand the light, so he slipped out quiet in the middle of the night. 1 year later, man, he's out that door saying family health, but we knew there was more. China, where you hiding now? You were preaching truth, you were talking proud. Then you turned your back, signed your soul on the line for the wrong kind of money and the wrong kind of side. Born China, oh, the stories you sell. You ain't a prophet, you just ringing your bell. You burned that bridge, watched it fall to dust. Now you're rant in the dark and nobody trusts. Born China. Now he's shouting through a mic in a rented room, every line rehearsed, every word perfume, big donors in the shadows, pulling that chain, he's dancing on the dollar, singing, I'm not to blame. Oh no, but China, where you hiding now? You were preaching truth, you were talking proud. Then you turned your back, signed your soul on the line for the wrong kind of money and the wrong kind of side. Born China.
That is the song Bongina Blues by me on the Def Jams playlist. Hope you enjoyed two-thirds of it, I guess. I don't know. Thanks for waiting, guys. And the one guy who was in here dipped. So that is cool. That has been the trend this episode, which, again, just is affirming to me that things with the name David Wilcock are being buried by the algorithm for a reason.
See, here I am now by myself, talking to myself. That's chaos theory.
That's chaos theory, folks. So, what David Wilcock is about to tell us here is he's about to present to us some factual information about the travel of our planet through space and how it all applies to this. Now, David is going to try to nail it down and pinpoint it to a single day that we all held our breath for back in the day. December 21st, 2021. Excuse me, I'm getting a new beer. I should have did that before I turned the mic on, but I'm going to do it now. And the flaw in my opinion with that way of thinking, trying to nail it down to December 21st, 2012, is that the scale of the cycle that you're talking about here is, I think, something like 25,000 years. So to try and nail down the effects of certain portions of that cycle to a single day, I don't think that's possible. I don't think that's something that you should try to do when you're working on such a grand scale. That's such a small portion. One day is such a small fraction of a fraction of a fraction of like 25,000 years that it's not, you can't, yeah. You'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. I'll just let him kind of do his thing for a second. I'll cut in when I feel it's appropriate.
Their consciousness in the chair. They had help from, apparently, ETs from Sirius in designing the people through time. There were multiple wavelengths that the chair cranked out on graph paper, okay? Some of those wavelengths were corresponding to a natural 20-year harmonic in the Earth's vibration. And that 20-year harmonic, as it turns out, if people were moving through time, which is one of the things they found they could do, is send people through time, this wave would tell you exactly where you were in time, depending on where up and down it was. So what they found that was so bizarre was that at December 21st, 2012, they could calculate it down to the day, that's how precise this was, that for some reason all the graphs, all the waves would go into a complete flat line.
Okay, this is a different wave than what I'm talking about. This is okay, so this is the time wave, which is a different thing.
They no longer moved up and down like before. They went flat for like 7 or 8 seconds. So then they're asking the guys that went through these stargates, and we're traveling into the future. What happened to you? Every single time that somebody tried to hit 2012, they said the same thing. There was this thing they called the bump. It actually hits you like a bump. You actually feel like you've slammed into something. And as soon as it slams into you, you have the most incredible religious experience you can imagine. Cosmic consciousness. Your consciousness just blasts into this wonderful place where you have awareness of no space, no time. All knowledge is available to you. Ecstatic God consciousness. You could be the galaxy. You could be a subatomic particle. You can go everywhere, do everything. And
You know, not going to lie, that does sound pretty dope.
there's no sense of it ever ending. So when it finally stops, you just can't even believe that you're back to who you were before.
Like what happened to Jodie Foster.
Exactly what happens.
Like what happens to Rick in Rick and Morty when he plays the game where he's like a guy for 40 years. Or, no, that happens to Morty. Yeah. And he has like a family and kids and shit. And then the game ends when he dies. And then he just comes back and he's just Morty again 5 minutes later. Kind of like that.
Jodie Foster in Contact. So,
Is that the moment of no time then?
that's the zero time, yeah. And Daniel doesn't agree with me on this, but I believe that 2012 is our zero time reference. By the way, Daniel did say that the stargates are real, that there is one main stargate per planet, that they dug them up from ancient Atlantean technology. They actually buried it under the ice in Antarctica because they were concerned that something would come through that could damage human life. So that is real. Stargate SG-1, all those television shows, of which there's 10 seasons, the first and second year of Stargate SG-1 are remarkably loaded with real stuff. And there's even an episode of Stargate called Wormhole Extreme, and you remember that one?
Wormhole Extreme. That's the next episode of the Worms in our Butts series.
Where they're making a fake television show about a real Stargate program. It's like this inside tongue-in-cheek
Oh, that's so meta.
joke. And everybody watching the show kind of knows, okay, they're telling us something here. There's something real behind all this stuff. Well, it's true. Why do they do that? Okay, that's a very good point. The reason why they do that is that you hide the truth out in the open. So that if I go into this lecture and I'm telling you all this stuff, you can just say, oh, well, he's just into Stargate. You know, he's just watching television shows. But in fact, this was really cool. One time, I was sitting down with Daniel one day, and we're talking about the looking glass. And this has a little orb that appears when you're looking at a particular place, and it's a ball of light. So they gave it this really weird name. They call it an outer band individuated teletracer. Okay?
Sure.
Outer band individuated teletracer. And they shortened it to the word OBIT. Outer band individuated teletracer, an OBIT, right? So then we're thinking, all right, this is what they always do, right? They hide this shit out in the open. Let's go Google outer band individuated teletracer and see if there's anything there. I couldn't believe it when we went on Google after he just...
Okay. The outer band individuated teletracer, or OBIT, is a remarkable technology that can track and monitor any individual anywhere for any length of time. When a man is found dead, slumped over the machine, it and the military base where it is in use come under scrutiny. But what no one suspects is who built OBIT and why. And on that answer may hang the fate of civilization, written by Commander Baylock.
Told me this, he had no idea either. And boom, Outer Limits. There's an episode of the Outer Limits called Outer Band Individuated Teletracer. Wow. And it's all about this stuff. There was a show, he was actually really interested in me too, because I seem to have some sort of psychic connection to these things. He says to me one day, what do you think a TVG is? I said, time vector generator. How did you know that?
Of course. What else? TVG. What is it going to be? What? What else could it be besides a time vector generator? Shithead. No, obviously I'm being facetious.
You're right. I don't know. Yeah. So I did not go to Montauk. I've never sat in the chair. Somebody asked me that. Were you in the chair? No. I was just very, very fortunate by some kind of crazy synchronicity to meet this guy. I wish he would go forward, but he doesn't want to. He did tell me, by the way, that they have found life on other planets, He said that the moon Io around Jupiter has little creatures crawling in the rocks. He said that Mars once had a civilization, that they've actually had astronauts on Mars, that they have a photograph that he saw of these astronauts waving with a big pyramid next to them. They actually have underground bases on Mars. There's a technology we've learned about from other witnesses now called a jump room, where you walk into the room, it's like an elevator, the doors close, you suddenly feel really sick to your stomach, the doors open, and boom, you're on Mars, just like that. No time has elapsed. So these technologies already exist. And I would certainly like to have one. It would be a lot easier than taking an airplane flight. You can get over the stomach thing, I guess. So, you know, again, all gate travel is much better than using a ship. It's a much preferable method than traveling by a spaceship because you go a lot faster and you go a lot farther. And you can reverse engineer it by taking the seat out of the ship, which is what they're doing here. So, have these seats ever showed up in film so that they can hide it out in the open? Well, check this out. There's your seat. Now, this one doesn't actually have any consciousness interface, but some of the other ones do. Total Recall, jump rooms to Mars, civilization on Mars, underground city, pyramid at the end, and once again, you have a chair that has a strong effect on your consciousness. In Stargate SG-1, they have the chair of the ancients, and O'Neill sits in it, and it activates and amplifies his consciousness, which allows him to defeat the evil fleet of the Goa'uld. I
remember that one, actually. If you never watched Stargate SG-1, it's worth a watch, dude. I had this phase, again, influenced by David Wilcock, where I just went through as many like mainstream sci-fi things as I could to try and identify stuff like this. And in the process, I became a fan of Star Wars, the original series and Next Generation. Gene Roddenberry, all Hollywood jewelry aside, he was like a prophet, dude. Like, there's so much stuff that he put in his show from the early 60s that is just reality now. It's just common reality now, but in the context of the time, it's hard to imagine how one could conceptualize so accurately and correctly such a future. And my favorite example of that, just to take a quick sidebar, quick break here, is there's an episode in Star Trek, the original series, where I don't remember if they call it a virus or not, but there's a computer virus in the Starship Enterprise, and it's trying to kill everybody on the ship. It's, I think, depleting the oxygen. It's been a long time. It's depleting the oxygen from the ship, I think, and there is then, therefore, a time limit on how long they have to fix the problem, to get rid of the virus before they all die. This is like 1962, 1963. There's already a correct prediction. Spaceships will use computers, and computers can get viruses. But you know what, the real cherry on top, and why I say like Gene Roddenberry is a prophet. You know how the crew of the Starship Enterprise solved their problem in 1962 of a computer virus on the Starship? You ready? They turned it off and then turned it back on again. What a thing to be right about in 1962. By shooting balls of light at them. Minority Report. Here you have people sitting in chairs, floating in water, and they are psychic, and it is amplifying their psychic ability, which Tom Cruise is then able to manipulate on a screen. One of the things that Daniel told me is that out of all the waves that this chair cranks out from the ships, that it also includes visual images from your pineal gland. And they can space them out and look at them just like in the movie. So this may have been designed to set the precedent so that someday they could actually create a department of pre-crime. Now, what also is very interesting is that the witness testimony we have of people going through these wormholes shows us that it looks like little light bulbs lined along the sides as you go inside. So that right there is not an accident.
We've already got pre-crime in Britain.
Really?
Jim Moss has been talking about it.
Oh, how about that? Jim Mars has been talking about pre-crime in Britain, he said. Okay, X-Men is another one. You remember Cerebro? where he wheels up to this thing. This is actually the antenna
That's exactly what I was just talking about. You can tell I haven't seen this in a long time.
at Montauk, except that it's a octahedron, 2 Egyptian pyramids base to base. But it's the same basic idea. There's a chair in there. You put this little helmet on. This is where you sit. And then it amplifies your psychic ability. That's what allows him to be able to find the missing mutants when they go missing. It's what allows them. Remember that one scene in X-Men where one of the whole movies, actually, the plot is that there's an evil force that's going to harness his consciousness to get him to run the chair and basically kill everybody who's a mutant on the planet. There's a chair in there. You put this little helmet on. This is where you sit. And then it amplifies your psychic ability. That's what allows him to be able to find the missing mutants when they go missing. It's what allows them. Remember that one scene in X-Men where one of the whole movies, actually, the plot is that there's
Spoiler alert for X-Men, guys. 3, 2, 1.
There's an evil force that's going to harness his consciousness to get him to run the chair and basically kill everybody who's a mutant on the planet with the psychic amplification.
That must be one of the points where whoever posted this cut 2 of the 10-minute videos together.
So this is all based on this real technology. Now here's what was strange. This 20-year loop has a bad side effect. When the Philadelphia experiment happened 20 years ago, there was an enormous amount of energy released. That
20 years ago, Jesus.
Energy reflected through the time domain. It got stuck in the time domain. An enormous, almost a nuclear release of energy was caused in the Philadelphia experiment, or the Rainbow Project, in 1943. There's a 20-year harmonic, and during certain favorable points in the harmonic, if you have a huge energy release, you're going to get another one down here, and you have a conduit or a gateway between those two areas, okay? This is bad. We don't like this. This is called a rift. It's very dangerous. It's very serious.
We learned about this in Marvel's, whatever that one with the time police, you know?
43 created a rift 40 years later with 1983, I guess somewhere around here. And 1983 was when a creature got through, August 13th, 1983, and trashed the entire base. And destroyed the Montauk base, destroyed the chair. It just so happens that Daniel called in sick and wasn't at work that day. So he didn't get mind wiped, so they didn't erase the memories out of his mind. So he remembers everything that he learned and everything that happened when he was working on this base. Somebody has a question. I just heard it in my head. What kind of creature? The creature was based on the movie Forbidden Planet, which was the monster from the id. The secret that Daniel knows, because he was in contact with the guy running the chair, Duncan Cameron, is that they were very pissed off at these Nazis. They did not like the Nazis. They didn't like what they were doing. They thought they had too much power. They thought the potential to misuse this technology was much too vast. And they said, we need to figure out how to stop this thing from going on. They created the monster with their own thought.
It's like in Ghostbusters, right? Is that Ghostbusters 2, I think? Where Gozer the Destructor appears after meeting the Keymaster, of course, who's Rick Moranis, the great and powerful Rick Moranis. And she says, choose the form of your destructor. And they're like, clear your minds. And then, you know, of course, what happens? We get the beloved and terrifying Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. That's the exact thing that, like, in reality, he's talking about right now.
Official view is that it's a rift and that some interdimensional monster came through. The reality is they took advantage of the 20-year harmonic, which they knew would have that energy, and they used it to create that monster to kill the program, and it worked. So that's the truth. What's that? They would be the, what you would call in the Stargate SG-1, the Tok'ra, the inside people who are not going along with their bosses, but they're rebelling, the white hats, so to speak. So,
hold on real quick, I'm losing track of everyone. So Daniel is the early guy you met and knocked Dr. Dan Burrish.
Daniel is the burly guy that I met. He named himself after Daniel in the Stargate series, Daniel Jackson.
Is he okay? Are you sure he's okay? I mean,
I'm sure that he's okay now.
well, I don't-
He's in seclusion. I haven't even seen.
So, I've made a decision. Just to interrupt this real quick, I've made a decision. I alluded that there are some questions that I have and some things that I found in search for answers to those questions about David Wilcock's death. Because it is, like I said, it's very hard to me. It's very hard for me to believe after knowing this man and his work for 18 years, maybe more even, but it's a rough estimation. After knowing him for almost 2 decades and seeing just the ultimate positivity, love, and light, all that sort of stuff coming out of him the entire time, unwavering the entire time. I mean, every human being is flawed, of course, but he did his best, man. This was a man who wanted nothing but good for humanity and made it his life's work. So when I can't fully buy that he just woke up and killed himself. I know I've been saying that a lot, and I've alluded earlier in the episode to kind of digging into that and showing you some of the shit I found, but I'm thinking that's going to have to wait for the next one. I am going to go over more material of his in future videos very soon, but I'm thinking that because it's important. It's important. I want to disseminate. Disseminating that is more important than disseminating this video, which is how I was introduced to him, because what matters now is the truth. This truth was established in 2008. The truth about his death has not yet been established, in my opinion. So the stuff that I have so far prepared for that, I'm going to hold off. And the reason why, I haven't told you that yet. The reason why is I'm pretty sure this episode is being shadow banned. I think this might be my worst episode ever. Like, I'm not kidding, ever. How far are we into it? An hour and 53 minutes, basically. I've never been an hour and 53 minutes into a live stream and had numbers like this. I'm going to show you. I have them right next to each other. Here we go. Let me get that on the screen here. Okay. Here we go. Here's yesterday's episode. 113 raw views. Whoopee. And 50 of those are unique views. That's a pretty good number. I have never... This is a song, so that doesn't count. That wasn't live. I have never, dude, been 2 hours into a live stream and had 4 unique views, 5 raw views. Dude, I'm pretty sure an episode has never performed this poorly while I was live. And like I said, it has the exact same set of tags, almost the exact same title, the exact same thumbnail, and the exact same description in the description. So what's the difference here? By the way, yesterday, of these 113 views, by the time I ended the stream, which was a little less than 3 hours long, we were at like 80 views already of those 113. So most of them, well over half of them were already there. By the time I end the stream, we're going to have like 6 views. That to me is proof that this is like very actively being suppressed. I've been talking about Charlie Kirk for a while, and that investigation with Candace Owens and Ian Carroll and John Bray and Coach Colin, you can't forget him, and the great and powerful Baron Coleman, among others. And I've had suspicions that those episodes were being shadow banned because suddenly I would see a drop in the numbers when I talked about stuff like that. But I have never, and I'm serious, I haven't been doing this for a super long time. It's been like 7 months, I think. But I have never seen a drop like that when I have such a reliable control to compare it to. Just yesterday. It's Wednesday and Thursday. Those are basically the same day as far as viewing demographics go. And I started within an hour. Actually, an hour earlier. So you would think, if anything, there would be higher numbers because more people are awake in the Western Hemisphere, right? To me, this is proof that there's a campaign going on here. Something's going on. It does say I started 15 minutes ago. What the fuck? 24 minutes ago? No, dude. No, it's been much longer than that. But irregardless, let's go to, this is what the public will see if you were to go to my page right now. Here I am live, 5 views. 1 day ago, 113 views. 5 days ago, 146, 124, 173. That one had a weird thumbnail, so I give that one a pass. 159. I'm not doing hot numbers here. I get it. I get that. I'm the best kept secret on the internet. Don't fucking tell anybody about this. But to me, this is like the graph for the 2020 election. So, like I said, I'm gonna end this one after David wraps up, and I'll do some sort of conclusion. It's not what I really planned on doing. I kind of planned on powering through because this is important and urgent. Because it's important because he's not Charlie Kirk. Do you understand? I think this man had a comparable effect on public consciousness as Charlie Kirk did. He had a much longer time to do it in. He had like 20 years to do it in, and Charlie Kirk had probably about half that. But I think they had a similar level of positive and profound effect on society and Western culture. Charlie Kirk was front and center in the change that he made. David Wilcock was rather unknown. You'd see him on Ancient Aliens, maybe, if you're into that sort of shit. But if you didn't see him there, and you're not some conspiracy guy on the internet, then you've never seen him before. However, like we went over earlier, you know about the pineal gland? You know about the pineal gland. If you've heard of it before today, you know about it because David Wilcock brought it into the public consciousness. Same thing with Looking Glass. Same thing with so many other things. This has been the man behind the scenes influencing culture, alternative knowledge for the last 2 decades. And he's had such an effect. I mean, not only because of his obvious profoundly high IQ, but you don't get to that point. You don't connect that many dots. You don't gather that much information unless you have a true hunger and passion and curiosity, which stems from a love and gratitude of the creation that we were given and charged with being the stewards of, at least locally, on this planet. Excuse me. So for that, I will be, forever thankful for his lifelong dedication to the expansion of knowledge and human consciousness. But we have to keep this active. So I said it's going to be a minute until I do my next David Wilcock episode. I'll probably do the Charlie Kirk episode that I've been wanting, that I had planned for yesterday. I'll probably do that next. I'll probably do that Saturday. I wasn't planning on doing a show tomorrow. I might end up doing that. I don't know yet. Stay tuned. Follow the X account. You'll see at the end if you want to see when I go live, or just subscribe and you'll see it when you see it. But I'll probably do that one next, and then I'll come back fresh next week, Tuesday or Wednesday, and do the next David Wilcock episode, and I'll probably have more stuff by then about that either confirm or squash any suspicions that I have and any questions that I have, hopefully by then. And if there is still time to fill after we talk about all that, because that'll be the first subject, of course, it's urgent. If we still have time, we'll go over the next video in the David Wilcock series that changed my life. There's 3. So let's get back to the video. There's, I think, not that much longer left, like 20 minutes or less. How much longer we got? Yeah, there's like 16 minutes left in the runtime of the video. And then we'll wrap it up for the night, man, because of all the stuff I just said.
Seen him in 2 years. He usually lives out in the middle of nowhere He doesn't like a lot of human contact because he's been psychically trained. He was measured as a P7. He had a special psychic gift called a conduit, which allowed him to feel other people's emotions and thoughts very, very strongly. And as a conduit, he was able to take, like did everybody see the movie Powder? He could do just that.
Holy shit, dude. That just unlocked a core memory. Did you ever see that movie Powder? That is a 90s movie and a half. You want it, if you've never seen it, spoiler alert, 3, 2, 1 from like a 1994 movie. The movie opens with a pregnant woman in a thunderstorm. And for some reason, she's outside in a thunderstorm and she starts going into labor. And as she's giving birth, guess what happens? You'll never guess. She gets struck by lightning. That's right. And she gives birth to a freak of a child. It's a completely hairless albino male. So he obviously gets made fun of for looking super weird in high school. That's when the movie takes place, is when he's all grown up in high school. And by then, he has electromagnetic based powers. Spoons stick to his hand, and you know, the magnets go up on the lockers as he walks down the hallway in his high school, and he gets bullied to no end. Spoiler alert, again, here's the end of the movie, because the end of the movie is fucking hilarious. There is somehow the bad guy, the main guy who picks on him, ends up in dire straits. Something happens, I don't remember what, but he's about to die. Or maybe he did die. And then Powder, you know what he does? He's such a good guy that he uses his electrical powers that were given to him because his mom got struck by lightning as he was being born. I guess that makes you an albino with superpowers. He uses his electrical powers to restart that man's heart. That's right. And then you know what he does at the end of the movie? He rips his shirt open. First off, Chad move. But he rips his shirt open in a thunderstorm and then runs out into an open field, kind of like a Naruto run, but he's got his arms open like he's trying to give you the biggest hug possible. And he's running full speed into a field. And he gets struck right in the chest with lightning. But it's not just a pew. It stays there. It's sustained. It's a sustained lightning bolt right into his chest until eventually he explodes into a field of energy, like when the Death Star blows up in Star Wars and there's that like ring of light that comes out and expands infinitely. He does that. And that's the movie. Thanks for coming. Just a fun little thing to break up the video here. Let's continue with the great late David Wilcock.
In fact, it's possible, because he was the only person they ever found that could do that, it's possible the movie Powder was written about him. I don't know that for a fact, but it's possible.
Oh, I hope not.
He also has some really weird stories. He said that he was accosted by a gray extraterrestrial when he was in his remote location, and he shot it with a shotgun. And he said that they...
Good for him. If an alien tries to touch my princess parts, he's getting shot for sure. That's all I'm saying.
Found out in these programs that the extraterrestrial physiology is like a vegetable and not like a body. So you can shoot them and they don't get hurt. This thing, and it just sort of kept walking. Very weird, huh? So yeah, and that's what's so strange is that when I was in high school, I wrote a story about a guy who shoots an extraterrestrial with a shotgun. And we started to find all these weird correspondences. The first time I took LSD, and I have done acid, I did 20 some odd trips. I had a very strange experience.
Those are rookie numbers, man. You got to pump them numbers up.
As I was coming down the stairs, I was peeking. I was like, what in the world is happening to me? I had this feeling that if I did not create the floor under my feet with my mind, that I would fall through the floor. And so I'm walking very carefully like this, tripping, just, oh, shit. It turns out that that's exactly what happened in the Rainbow Project Philadelphia experiment. It turns out that the people who could remember where they were before they went into this gray mist of zero time didn't get stuck in the hull of the ship.
If somehow you're not familiar with the Philadelphia Project, it's an alleged experiment that happened, I think, the 60s. He mentioned it before, and there were a couple times where I was looking for something. So I know he mentioned that they put, like, super powerful magnets at either end of a Navy ship, and they were trying to make it invisible. But what happened was it ended up going through time, and in the process became, it went in and out of phase of, like, being solid matter, and ended up injuring some guys, horrifically maiming others and killing others. And they arrived to a scene of guys, like, basically morphed into the floor and stuff like that. That's what he's talking about right now.
But the people who couldn't remember where the ship was and couldn't create the ship from memory, when they got through, they were stuck in the hull and died in many cases because you can't pull somebody out. So he said, he has some weird ideas, and, he thought that I was connected to the project somehow, like my soul is basically helping to relieve the karma of the planet through this thing that happened. And I guess this is part of what I have to do is share this with you, because
my soul is helping to relieve the karma of the planet. I don't know. That just struck me.
Obviously, there's a reason why I met this guy. And that's the funny thing, too, is you can tell that this is real because people ask me a question and I pop out with something new, because I've had many, many hours of conversation with Daniel. No, I'm not gay. No, we're not sexually involved. Somebody wrote that on the internet. It's like, forget it. I haven't even seen him in 2 years. We were just friends.
It was married to a woman for many years, so.
That's all. Okay? Get over it. And even if I was gay, which I'm not, what possible difference would that have to my message or to the value of the material that I'm sharing with you? Can I get an amen on that? Come on. I mean, really, let's just let go of these ridiculous prejudices, because everybody has a right to be here. Every soul is precious beyond measure. I am not a racist. The DNA level shows us that we are so similar that you cannot actually tell what somebody's race is from a genetic test.
So this is the very beginning of when you had to do that in public.
It's only very, very weird, special things that they have to go out of their way to find to look. But we're 99.9% the same.
Plus, is at a place called the Conscious Life Expo, which is 70 to 80% hippies. So, it's just read the room,
It is. It's a smear tactic, and it's being used to dumb us down and to get us fighting with.
He died defending Trump, by the way. Something I disagree with, something I think that was misguided, perhaps. But that's, you know what I mean? Like, if you're saying, if you're saying
he's a fag,
he's not. He's not. He's more conservative than your friends, probably.
With each other rather than looking to the source of the problem. Okay, but that's what we're doing. By shedding light on it, we're helping to understand it. So, the reason why I'm going to go into rifts and holes in time is because it has to do with 2012, and it has to do with you breaking down the conditioning.
Don't say that you're not gay. Just a piece of advice. Don't say that you're not gay and then say that you're going to go into a hole and a rift. I joke.
Let me finish the sentence. Breaking down the conditioning that has kept you from seeing the greater reality that we live in. Question.
Back to the 20-year space-time cycle.
Yep.
So you were saying before that at the apex of the current cycle, you get a rift in time, and one was created in 1943, another one in 1983. Is there a possibility of that happening again at some point in the other?
Okay. He asked a good question, which is, okay, the apexes of the wave and the bottoms of the wave is a 20-year cycle, but especially from top to top, the 40-year cycle, from 43 to 83, you get this big conduit, you get this big rift that was created by the Philadelphia experiment. Now again, it could have been anywhere. It was the fact that the Philadelphia experiment was done when it was that created a harmonic coupling 40 years later. That's all.
The next harmonic there would be what? 2023.
I don't know for a fact that that was on the peak of the wave. He didn't say that. However, this wave is a subharmonic. It's only a subharmonic. The 2012 wave is much more powerful because we're dealing with ultimately a 26,000-year cycle.
Okay, that's exactly what I was referring to earlier. The main mechanism of all of this ascension, this 2012 raise in consciousness, human sudden rapid evolution, is based on this 26,000-year-old cycle. Looks like that's going to be the last segment from David, is to talk about that. So we'll do that. We'll do a wrap-up. I'm going to end the conclusion of this series, again, like I ended yesterday's episode, with the last few minutes of prayer that David ever... the last few minutes that David ever broadcasted were prayer, and just a shining example of his personality and nature. And if you're going to take a slice of any of David's content to represent him, I think that's as good as any. So like yesterday, we'll end with that. We got about, I think, 9 or 10 minutes left in the video. And that'll be that for the most heavily shadow banned episode I've ever done. Oh, son of a bitch. Well, you could tell I didn't watch it before the fucking... Why is there 10 minutes left? It's not available.
Just don't say anything, man. I don't even want to hear it, all right?
Then here's my question.
I'm sorry about the music.
And you can talk as long as you like. You have a unique...
What sort of grown man? Are you in Harry Potter land? I'm sorry, you have 2 giant medallions of gold that you're wearing on the outside of your shirt for some reason. That's just I'm sorry. Maybe this is just me being autistic or nitpicking, but when I see this in a grown man, it inspires suspicion in my heart. I don't know why. It just does. It's like, what are you pretending to be? You know?
Perspective on Edgar Casey. Edgar Casey.
Yeah, I knew this was going to happen.
Correct. No.
It's the psychic premonition, right?
Dude, I ain't backing on you, man. You know. Okay, so now you threw me off here. All right, so what was I talking about? Oh yes, 2012. The idea here is that it's having a unique perspective on Edgar Casey. All right, Casey did, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, he did a grand total of, I think, only 14 readings that actually dealt with the future, right? About 14 readings that did with the future, yes? Yes? And of those 14 readings, a lot of them were interrupted by his clients who were, who said, I don't want to know anything about that. Just tell me if my partners are...
Just my knee hurts. Can you help me?
Crook and things like that, right? Casey has been not only amazingly prescient about what's going on, and his predictions have come true in a way, but not in the cataclysmic nature that a lot of people have expected. For example, he said that in 1998 to 2000, that there would be a shifting of the poles, period, or the beginning of a new age. And it is...
Well, how do you know that that's not Poland, right? The poles did indeed shift in that time frame, in that they stopped allowing immigration from countries where terrorists reside, and as a result have had 0 terrorist attacks since 9/11. Is that the shifting of the poles he could have been referring to?
It's interesting because there was a polar shift. Not many people know it. In 98 to 2000 or so, when the poles actually shifted, there's 3 magnetic north poles, and the pole actually shifted from one to another to another.
If you're talking about Chandler's Wobble, yeah.
Yeah, Chandler's Wobble, exactly, did happen.
Chandler's Wobble. That would have been a great Friends episode.
Talked about 1998, the Library of Atlantis, the beginning that it would be found, and of course in 96, there was an earthquake in Cairo that cracked open the Sphinx Temple complex, and we think that the Tomb of Osiris might be the foyer, if you will, to what might possibly be the Atlantean aspect. So considering that a lot...
And that's actually really interesting, considering recent, discoveries and developments on the Giza Plateau. Those scans that they've done underground with the pillars and spirals and so forth, and the cavities in the Great Pyramid itself, talks of cavities and tunnels and just vast miles and miles of tunnels beneath the plateau. That's all very interesting, because none of that was being talked about in 2008. It certainly wasn't accepted or public or mainstream knowledge.
A lot of Casey's predictions have been pulled down, so to speak, that have been softened by prayer and human action and what have you. And you don't have to stick to that. I'm just pointing out, because of your unique connection to this, the connection and what I am of interest to me, we seem to have done so much work along the lines of the Mayan calendar, the harmonic convergence of 1987, meditations that have been done 92, 94, earthquakes that have been lessened in California. I mean, working with the Prophecy Research Institute, when Gordon Michael Scallion was talking about the whole West Coast falling into the ocean and whatever else, and so many people did meditations in California, and then the call went out for people to start meditating, and I said, don't tell me what's the same, tell me what's different.
Okay, and this is kind of like, I refer to this in passing at the opening of the episode. I said that David believed that prayer, you could actually make real change in the world with collective prayer. And there's been occasions where he's done this and occasions that he's reported on where there have been thousands of people, sometimes over 10,000 people, who have all agreed and decided that on this day, at this time, we're all going to meditate for peace on earth. And there were measurable results every time you had a very high number of people. And it doesn't have to be a very high number of people in relationship to the amount of people on earth. It just has to be like a high number, because we're talking about like 10,000 people here. And these are documented results. One of the claims, and I'll start with the big one because it's like really, it's a really hard thing to prove. But I've heard, and I'll never find the talk, I'm sure, but I've heard David Wilcock himself talk about a guided meditation for peace where over 10,000 participants participated, and the following week, global like murder dropped by like 30%. So that's a hard thing to verify, and so take that with a grain of salt. However, another measurable thing that can be observed, and you can do it today if you can get enough people together, is, I forget the name of the project, I think it's a government project, but there are random number generators placed all over the world, a few dozen of them. There's a website, actually, where you can go, and I'm sure it's easy enough to Google, but you can go and monitor them from a website. It's public. And some notable things about these random number generators is that in like the 6 to 12 hours before the planes hit the Twin Towers in 9/11, there were anomalies displayed all over the world on these random number generators. You had an anomalous and disproportionate amount of sequential numbers and numbers repeating. It's anomalous data for something that is truly random. And the indication, what that indicates is that when an event happens that affects global consciousness in a huge way, there are ripples both back and forth in time. And those affect reality. So things that generate random numbers as that ripple of consciousness, and yeah, that ripple of consciousness goes through it, it displays anomalies. That is measurable. So that's what that's kind of at the core of what he's getting at here. I just wanted to like chime in and kind of add that to it, just to show like this isn't like hippie bullshit. This isn't just like, ooh, karma, fucking kumbaya shit. There's hard science behind a lot of this stuff. And the stuff that doesn't have hard science behind it, I make sure to acknowledge that too.
And people began to realize that the future was not as dire as many of them thought. So 2012, again, I wasn't sure if there was a lot of prophecies, but if you could mix that with what your opinion is of what goes on in the next 4 years or so, because everything is beginning to condense. Everything is beginning to pull humanity back into the beginning of that quantum leap. So take us there and take it away.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Sean. What I didn't want to have to dwell on is the reincarnation thing. If you're interested, you can go to my website, divinecosmos.com, and read about that. Because I don't really think this is about individual personalities as much as it's about yourself. A lot of people have come up to any of us on this panel, I'm sure, and would like to have us be the savior figure, for lack of a better term. And there's no messianic return. It's a consciousness awakening that's happening in each person. And so if you want to get help from others on your spiritual path, that's fine. But I would always encourage you to practice discernment and recognize that if a truth doesn't resonate with you, you can throw it away and not look back.
See that? Who says that? This is not a man who desires power or influence, really. This is just him like, this is what I think can help. And if you don't like it, cool. If it doesn't work for you, fine. There are plenty of paths to the creator. But this is the way I see it, and I think this is useful. And here's me sharing it as much as I can. This is like, again, all humans are flawed. David Wilcock had plenty of flaws. I'm sure I don't know all of them. But from everything I've seen, constantly, without exception, over the 18 years that I've been aware of this man and checked in on him and followed his work, that is a constant in his life. A humble, significant, earnest contribution to the evolution and betterment of humankind.
Because as one of our panelists was saying, this is a future that we create. 2012 appears to be an energy field which is largely dependent upon our focus in terms of how we choose to go into it. And one of the reasons why we know that is because of the government time travel project I just spoke about in my workshop, which many of you were at, called Project Looking Glass. And it turns out that the person looking through the looking glass determines the future that you see by what they expect they're going to see in the future. So this is an actual government.
So that, is a direct relationship to the quantum observer effect, that matter exists in a quantum probability cloud until it is observed, and then it collapses upon one reality that is affected by the observer.
Atlantean reverse engineered time viewing technology that has now confirmed factually, and I've had multiple witness testimonies that don't even know each other independently tell me this, that we're dealing with a situation where how you look at it does determine the outcome. So if that works for you, then work with that, because honestly, I don't believe that we're dealing with the cataclysmic reality. The Edgar Cayce readings you spoke of, Sean, were largely dictated by an entity that at the end of the readings would call itself Halaliel. And Halaliel was later identified by the...
That means you can eat him during Ramadan.
...people in Cayce's circle as being a trickster entity, and trickster means negative. So this entity is responsible for the prophecies of California sinking into the ocean. Do you think if I believed that I would live in Los Angeles? Honestly. So I'm not like you, though. I don't want to die until I'm ready.
That's eerie.
I wouldn't get anything out of it, I don't think.
That's eerie, dude. I'm sorry about that.
But no, seriously. Seriously, I think that...
In David's defense, a lot of us get that, by the way. Dude, you live in Hermosa Beach. What are you talking about? You predict the future, and you live in Hermosa Beach. That's where the wave's going to wipe everything out. And I keep telling him, well, California's going to be all that's left, and it's going to be the rest of the United States that falls into the sea. So,
It's like saying, I'm going to cut your whole body off.
That's right, man.
Well, again, I want to remind everyone here that each soul, every one of you, is precious beyond imagination. And it's just such an incredible honor for all of us on this panel to be able to share this energy with you, because as you tune into our frequency, there is a very real energetic conduit that is formed. And if we are clear enough, then our personality disappears and we become a lens for the Creator that you're shining to us to shine back onto you, hopefully with some transformation and some nice filigrees on it. So I wanted to share with you perspective on 2012, getting back to your earlier question, Sean. And
what a message, man. This, granted, this is 18 years ago, but this is exactly how he talked 2 days before he died.
This deals with the idea of what exactly is going to happen between now and 2012. And this gives me a great segue into a piece of information which is scientific in nature, which I've wanted to share at this conference, and this is the great time to do it. I was poking around in Russian physics. I was looking through the web for various scientific studies done by Russians on torsion fields, which is the energy field of consciousness. And they've done some fantastic work. I, quite by accident, stumbled across the Russian Institute of Temporology, which means the study of the nature of time, and found a paper by a man named Dr. Sergei Smelyakov.
Smelyakov? You're supposed to do that by yourself, right?
I know. Go ahead and laugh. It's okay. My coughs don't smell like anything, by the way. They're just roses. But Dr. Smelyakov, or we'll just call him Sergey, maybe that'll be easier.
Call him Smelly,
Or,
obviously.
or Sergey, we can call him Sergey.
Sergey.
I think Smelly's better than Sergey, I think, actually.
I like Sergey.
Sorry, Danny, I don't want to tangent on you. I apologize. Okay, the point is this. Smelyakov looked at the Mayan calendar, found out that, does everybody know about the golden mean, the phi, 1.618? That's the harmonic cut, the sacred
The golden ratio, the Fibonacci spiral ratio.
cut. You can cut a guitar string and it'll be 1 to 1.618 is the ratio. Anyway, that's the basis of all life and all growth. If you take the Mayan calendar cycle of 5,200 years in length and you start chopping that up by the phi ratio so that it implodes into a singularity in 2012, which means that if you have an imploding spiral, okay, you're cutting it by phi, you cut up 5,200, make that sacred cut, and then cut that unit and cut that unit, those cuts will fall on certain years. And what Smelyakov discovered is that on those years, very, very substantial changes happen on the planet, including the fall of civilizations, the rise of new methods of measuring time, the rise of new civilizations, the rise of great spiritual teachers such as Jesus and Gautama Buddha, the major earth changes. In fact, the Russians did a 2,000-year retrogressive study of earthquakes and found that the biggest earthquakes happen on these resonance points. Well, think about what I said. It implodes into 2012. So what does that mean? Prior to actually hitting 2012, in the last year especially, there's going to be one after the other after the other. And every one of these wave fronts changes the planet, changes consciousness. One of the last ones we had was 1991, which was the fall of the Soviet Empire. One of the more recent ones that we had was right before, like 2 days before the Bush administration invaded Iraq, which I believe was the political fall from the public will of power that they had. So we're dealing now with the next wave that's coming in 2009. As we head into 2010, 2011, they're going to start happening every couple months, and then they're going
Doesn't it kind of seem like that's happening?
to start happening every couple weeks, and then they're going to start happening every couple days. By the time we get to 2012, we're going to be hitting new ones every hour. And
Well, I think his timeline was off, but I think that's where we are now.
towards the end, it's multiple times per second. Okay, now my readings have told me, for what it's worth, that some of us will be able to have ascended abilities. I mean, full-on ascended abilities prior to the actual shift happening. So that would be very cool, because what we're expecting after 2012 is a 100 times more harmonious utopian world where things like time travel, levitation, instant telepathy, instant healing, telekinesis are as common and as everyday as breathing. And I look forward to that time. Now, I've been told that any one of us in this room, anyone, if you're willing to do your practice, which basically involves the acceptance and the forgiveness of the self, and if you get that down, then you start looking at everyone else. If somebody else upsets you, the only reason why they would is because they're hitting an issue that you have. So if somebody does something and it no longer is your issue, you won't be upset by them. If you can find that peace and that equanimity within yourself, then you will be the most compatible for this change that is coming. And as each of these new wave fronts hits, these are sufficient enough. They used to take hundreds and hundreds of years. They change the whole nature of the world and civilization. They're going to start happening every week and then every day. So you can harness that potential in yourself, and I see a very, very positive future coming. So I thank you.
So there it is. The 2012 Enigma, ending with David Wilcock making what appears to be a very accurate prediction, timeline off, though it may be, of exactly what we're experiencing today. I talk about that all the time. I talk about that a lot, about how we get like just huge, so many huge news stories every single day at this point that it's almost impossible to keep up with. It's hard to do the show because so much stuff happens so quickly. By the time I have a show prepared, more shit happened that's more important now. And now I got to do that show. Like, the level of news story that we get on a daily basis now used to happen every 2 to 5 years when I was a kid. And like I said, now it's several times a week, and it just seems to be getting faster and faster and faster. We're bottlenecking. We're reaching the singularity. We are perhaps ascending and evolving like David Wilcock proposes here in the 2012 Enigma. But this is the first third, maybe the first half, I don't remember, but it's the first portion of the material that I was first introduced to David Wilcock with. I know that at least the first two videos, this was the first one and there's another, I know that those two were available when I first came across David Wilcock. So perhaps it was 2009 that I first saw him. That doesn't make much of a difference. Whatever. I've spent plenty of time adding to, explaining, and summarizing most of the points that David Wilcock has presented in the 2012 Enigma as they happened. So I think, aside from that, the material speaks for itself, and I don't think that I need to do a big wrap-up here. I'll probably start the next episode that I do in this series, which will be the next video, and a lot more David Wilcock material, because it's the continuation of this introduction. But I think when I do that video, I will begin by, if the questions that I have right now have been answered by then, I will give the questions and the answers. If they haven't, I'll give you evidence that I've gathered in the meantime to try and get to that answer, because I do have a lot of questions about his death. I've been, yesterday I was like, maybe, I don't know. Today, after doing some digging, I definitely am more on the side that something is up here. It just doesn't seem right. It really doesn't. And like Alex Stein said when Charlie Kirk was murdered, he said, the world is a worse place now that Charlie Kirk is gone. I agree with that. He ugly cried when he said it, and he made me ugly cry. And I feel the exact same way about David Wilcock. This time, personal. It's way more personal. I was never a big follower of Charlie Kirk. I admired him from afar, but David Wilcock has been a very personal influence on my life for like half of it. So this one is very personal for me. Whether you agree with him or not, whether you think he's a nutbag or a hippy-dippy fucking, new age mysticism guy, whatever your opinion of him is, I don't think no matter how much you may disagree or find all of this stuff to be silly bullshit, I don't think that you'll be able to look me in the eye and disagree that this man is a man who's genuinely positive, genuinely wanted the best for humanity, and was dedicating his life to doing what he thinks would contribute to that, or possibly even accomplish that. You only get one of these in a lifetime, just like you only get one Charlie Kirk. He was a very unique individual, and we will not see his like again. Simple as. If you're watching the replay, which I know you are, because this has been the most shadow banned episode that I've ever had while it was live. Like, the numbers are disproportionately, anomalously low. It's just really, really weird compared to yesterday's numbers with the exact same input, basically, to the algorithm. And that further raises my suspicions. It further makes me think that there's something afoot here. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. Just for the sake of humanity. But if I am wrong, then that means that David Wilcock killed himself. And that raises its own set of questions. The point here, I guess, is that I'm not willing to let this go yet. I'm not going to let this get memory hold. I'm not going to stop talking about this until there's nothing left or I'm satisfied with the answers I got. regardless of how this has affected you. I hope it's been a positive experience. I hope it's affected you even half of the way it affected me back in 2008, 2009. But if it hasn't, I hope it's at least been giving you something to think about, giving you something to ponder and maybe search, and at the very least, maybe giving you maybe a little bit more positive perspective on life. We aim to tell the truth, whatever it may be here. We aim to expose what needs to be exposed and get to the core of what's going on here. And it seems like we have a long way to go. And it seems, furthermore, like there's never been a harsher and more aggressive resistance to that, to finding the truth. Scientists are dying everywhere. They killed Charlie Kirk 7 months ago. David Wilcock died 4 days ago. David Wilcock. And we're being told he killed himself. I'm sorry, man. Oh, now I look up, there's 7 fucking people. Nobody's been in here the entire time. I've had 2 people in here the entire time. Sorry, guys, you're going to have to watch the replay. I just got done talking about how this has been the most shadow banned episode I've ever done while it was live. And where did that go? Hold on. Where did that fucking screen go? Yeah, look at this. Look at this shit right here. You see this? There's yesterday's episode. Same tags, same thumbnail, everything. Look at that. I had like 80-some views by the time I was done. 5, dude. Tell me that's not a shadow ban. Tell me it's not. And I will disagree. But that's not what we're here to talk about. This is the end of the show. Sorry. It's the end of the show. I want to end by doing the same thing I did yesterday with the last few minutes of David's last live broadcast because, again, I think it does do a great job of giving you a slice.
What's done here, you guys?
Shit. Giving you a slice.
Cracking commercial
God,
right as...
Son of a... It does a good job of giving you a slice of what this man was like and what he was about. And if you're going to have some final words, if you're going to have a final few minutes that you broadcast live to the world before you leave forever, I think this is a pretty good one. So this is my sign-off. They killed Charlie Kirk for telling the truth. If they did kill David Wilcock for telling the truth, we're going to get to the bottom of it. And if I must die for telling the truth, I don't think I am even close to that point yet, but I am getting shadow banned and I'm getting my legal name searched from Israel every single day. So that's chill. But if I must die for the truth, that's something that I'm willing to die for. And if I must, I hope that I can die with my boots on. Thank you for watching, and thank you, David Wilcock. If I had never come across you, I probably wouldn't be doing this right now. So thank you for changing my life. Thank you for changing my perspective. And thank you for everything you've done for humanity. You will be greatly missed, sir. I'll leave it to you to end the show, and then we're just going to cut to the music. Thank you for joining me, guys. Like, subscribe if you want. Follow me on X if you want to know when I go live. I post about 10-15 minutes before I start talking on live. That's DEF_NOT_left. It'll be on the screen at the end. But for now, thanks for watching. Here's David Wilcock. Take care of each other, guys. Good night.
As the inspirational stuff is gotten not to be overlooked, this ineffably vast center of being always finds its way back into your reality field. There can never be any other truth but that of the one infinite, and your existence is upheld by its very nature. Recognize that your own diligent efforts have brought you to this point of transformation. You have worked and strived and pushed far beyond your own limitations. You have sought the highest positivity within the darkest situations, and now is a time of restoration, hope, healing, positivity, and rebirth. Life on Earth will not remain so stressful as you head into the future. You are indeed working through a planetary transformation process. This knowingness is paramount as it means centuries, millennia of negative karma is now reaching its coalescence and cleansing point. As you see the darkness of the old ways coming up for global review and healing, Be ye not deterred by the negativity and mistrust that can result from this. This is your moment to step into the spotlight, to reclaim the majestic legacy that is the true lineage of all incarnate souls. Step forth and gain an awareness of who and what you really are, a holographic reflection of the universe, full of the power and the glory that is the seed of all known and unknown creation. Within you is the potential to recreate the universe and to transform yourself as well. Vanity, pride, and posturing will not bring about the results that you seek. The quiet moments, the humility, the patience, the love, and respect for others. This is the path that promises the greatest results when seeking the Christ. Embodying these principles is stepping into the living light that this awareness already exists as. See yourself as a divinely perfected being, and then strive to make the changes within yourself that can refine and define those understandings. Live in the promise and the acceptance of these greater universal truths, and remember always how deeply and fully you are loved by so many who surround you. This is the time of times, the moment of awakening. This is your grand opportunity to move beyond all senses of limitation and embrace the glorious future that awaits you. A throng of angelic spectators surrounds you and eagerly awaits your grand reconciliation of the schism within your personality structure. And yeah, I was inspired by the schism of the alliance, which I don't think is really there now. By finding and accepting the love and forgiveness, you may rise above self-imposed limitations and achieve the crowning victory that materiality is intended to produce. Verily, the world is your oyster, and you can enjoy the fruits of that realization. You have never strayed too far from the goal, and even when it appears that you have gone far away from what you intended, even when it appears you've gone far away from what you had intended, perhaps you never really wavered at all. Your commitment is pure, your heart is true, and it is you who completes your own hero's journey at the appropriate time. Yes, this is an incredibly challenging and difficult time to be alive on Earth. We encourage you to focus on the positive above all else, and remember, you are loved. The goal is closer in the future than you may think, and your safe passage through these dire straits is utterly assured in the grandest sense. We are very grateful to have you on this path with us, working together for greater harmony. We love you more than words can say, and remind you that you are never alone. We thank you for being here in this unique time, and wish you all of the very best on your path. Never forget that, just like everyone else equally, you are the light, you are the love, you are the one infinite creator. This is as it was, as it is now, and as it always shall be, and nothing and no one can take that from you. And so it is. Amen. I guess that will have to stand as our global peace meditation. Let's just do a little bit more here for the sake of argument. Father, Mother, God, we're so grateful to you. Let's please send peace, healing energy to Iran, to the Straits, to Russia, Ukraine, all those areas of conflict in the world where there is stress. Let's please heal these areas, bring about as much light as possible, heal others, and most of all, heal ourselves. Ask for the healing of your messenger here, David Wilcock. Let's pray for the healing, body, mind, and spirit. Pray for the healing of all others and for the goodness of humanity. Thank you so much, Father, Mother, God. We love you. We appreciate you. Adonai and Amen. Thank you. All right, you guys, we're good. That was our little quick global peace meditation. I'll read a couple of your comments here. We're getting very close to the end here, so we don't have hardly any time. I honestly think commercials are time to hit so we don't get the same kind of download. Well, yeah, you can hit the skip button, but again, somebody says that has a great frequency, and so it is. Amen. Kiko says, nice to see you in a good mood today, David. It lifts our spirits. Meditation, vibing together, shines so bright. Great show yet again. Much love to us all. Thank you very much, Kiko. Eden Hollander says, thank you, David. Walking Tree says, arigato. Midnight Mark, great meditation, great show. Love you, brother. Glad I got done early and could catch most of it. You can come in and get the rest later. Saving the best for last. The end won't be for everyone. I think it's possible that he was sacrificing his reputation for the sake of the plan, just like Batman in the movie The Dark Knight. Thank you so much, David, for your time, effort, and energy. Ghost of Adi, you are now cleared for liftoff. Appreciate that very much. Awesome show, David. Keep the light flowing and keep the faith. Sofa King, that was beautiful. Thank you for another great show, says Vicky Cornwall. Venus Renata, so it is, amen. Thank you guys so much. I really love you and appreciate you guys. I'm so glad that you're here, guys and girls. We will see you on the next time around. And I am so grateful, and we'll do the typical lead out here, and A-N-D, not E-N-D, and scene. There we go. All right, you guys. Thank you so much.
New show loading. Freedom.exe online. Hey! Def not left. Press start for the truth. Dum, dum, dum. Welcome to the circus. Def not left at your service. Jeff with a mustache, laughs so loud, cracks one open, chills the crowd. Silvercan sweating on the desk right there, cores in his grip like he just don't care. Truth on tap in a goofy glass. Punchline hits, then he tapped that ass. He's burning takes like a Kubrick roast. Bookmark facts, then he dunked your post. Glitch in the screen, then he frees that frame. Fact check meme while he reads your name. Talk so fast you can't all tab out. Tab so stacked that they lag your house. Honest to a fault, and he flaunts that flaw. Hits play, then he drops that law. They say don't joke, I say why not. You fear my thoughts, I fear your bots. You got think pieces, I got receipts. You got group chats, I got these beats. I'm that core sipping, mustache villain, spreadsheet samurai, parasite killing. You bring feelings to a stats collision. I bring footnotes to your fact fiction. They like turn it down, I like turn it up. They sip foam lattes, I crack one cup. You quote buzzwords, I quote the page. You quote hashtags, I say that's gay. This is Def not left. Say it with your chest, mustache, course can. Freedom on the desk. We don't bend, don't beg, we don't ask, we press. If you came for the script, wrong show, get wrecked. This is Def not left. Tell your friends, confess. Truth gets loud when they try to suppress. We don't bend, don't beg, we don't ask, we press. America first. Every cast, every breath. I got what you want. I got what you need. I got so many red pills stacked that you say cracker, please. I got stats in the stash, got the clips with the scenes, got the emails, he trails, all the stuff off the screen. I got truth on the tap, got the punch and the tease. I got questions for the kings that'll make them all wheeze. I got love for the flag and the folks who believe that your voice ain't a crime just for cutting through the feed. No script, just spit, and a spy made of steel. He reads one chart, says, how's that feel? Fact check Jeff, that's a full-time gig, cause the fact's too big for the old cheap rig. Fact check folder, beat up binder, Jeff side smiles. Let me remind you. Honesty, that's house law. Punchline swing like southpaw. Calls out bots in the live chat. Reads one loud like, who typed that? Studio's just one room, but the convo feels like one-sided combat. He says, free speech first, feelings maybe third. If your Harvard blog gets hurt, that's the funniest thing I heard. America first on a thrift store sign. Next to the clock he quotes every time. You got questions? Hold that seed. Then he leans in close on the beat. I got what you want. I got what you need. I got so many red pills on deck that you say cracker, please. I got what you want. Only mute when I sneeze. Freedom so cold, make the fact checks freeze. Take a sip, take a seat, let the brain cells breathe. This is Def not left. Say it with your chest. Truth, honesty, freedom. Yeah, we stress that. America first. We ain't pressed by threats. If you're scared of some words, change the station then nerve. This is Def not left. Wrong crowd then exit. We don't beg for permission or soft filter the message. Def not left. Put the spin to bed. If facts make you cry, that's a you thing, friend. Yeah, I'm the mustache with a stash of receipts. Laugh track loaded on the threat when I speak. Fact check, snap back, crack jokes on elites. Nerd brain, wordplay, drop stats in the street. I got what you want, I got what you need. I got so many red pills stacked, you say cracker, please. I got links, I got stats, I got timestamps saved. I got clips, I got quips, I got memes for days. I got jokes so sharp that they'll make you bleed. I got laughs so loud with your NPCs. I got wait, run that back. I got broke, that's facts. I got how we get canceled off basic math. I got let me show you how this fucking Fed slop swag. This is Def not left. Say it with your chest, mustache, course can. Freedom on the desk. We don't bend, don't beg, we don't ask, we press. If you came for the script, wrong show, get wrecked. This is Def not left. Tell your friends, confess. Truth gets loud when they try to suppress. We don't bend, don't beg, we don't ask, we press. America first. Every cast, every breath. This is Def not left. Say it with your chest. Truth, honesty, freedom. Yeah, we stress that, stress that. America first. We ain't pressed by threats. If you're scared of some words, change the station and nerd. This is Def not left. Wrong crowd, then exit. We don't beg for permission you cry. That's a you thing, friend. Hit play, hit sub, hit send. Same time next week, my friend. Yeah, right. If the feed goes dark, don't fret. We'll be back. Def not left. Def not left.
Would it make you feel any better if you knew that what we're asking Matt here to do is a holy thing?
You see, we're on a mission from God.
This is my town, Chi-Town, Chicago, Illinois. A land of big hearts, big shoulders, and broken dreams. I'm out of shape, I'm out of touch, and I'm simply out of time.